At 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Naumann and Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Naumann and Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
With Steel, batteries are included. This holiday season, give a gift that's ready to go right out of the box. For everything from cleaning up the yard to cutting up firewood, Steel tools check off the wish list and knock out the to-do list. And right now, buy select battery tool sets and get a free extra battery. Visit SteelUSA.com for holiday deals and gift ideas. Happy holidays from Steel. Offer valid for a limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
The Liberty Cigar Company was founded with one mission in mind, to tell America's magnificent story. We pay homage to the seminal people in American history by way of a meticulously crafted premium cigar, custom blended to match the personality of the one so honored. This holiday season, give your special someone the gift of history, as told by a Liberty cigar. Every box is beautifully gift wrapped at no charge. Check out all our cigar collections at libertycigars.com. That's libertycigars.com, where every cigar has a story to tell.
Your local State Farm agent Anthony DeGrotto combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. You can combine your home, auto, and life insurance to not only save you money, but give you the peace of mind you've been looking for. Anthony DeGrotto is your go-to agent in Chicagoland. He and his team will work for you to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Combine your home, auto, and life insurance today. Anthony DeGrotto will help you mix and match things perfectly. His State Farm office is a top pick 2024 Daily Herald Reader's Choice Award winner. He's a proud supporter of Tunnel to Towers and like-minded as you. His State Farm agency is currently looking to add members at their Roselle office. Call Anthony at 847-895-1500 today or visit DeGrottoSF.com. That's DeGrottoSF.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. And if you are a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then you need to become a business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. Lock in your 2026 marketing now at this incredible price. It really is the best deal in all of Chicago radio. You'll join a long list of businesses who are reaching AM 560's audience of affluent decision makers. And through the generosity of your business, you'll also be helping more than 30 children for a year. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-593-8777. 847-472-8950. Again, 847-472-8950. That number, one more time, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Jamie Dimon, the head of J.P. Morgan Chase, just announced he's leading a $1.5 trillion initiative focused on investing in national security. Dimon has assembled a council of big names to advise on where to invest the bank's own money in defense industries as well as others' money in the hopes to spark others to follow their lead. We wish him well. This sort of recognition of the actual threat from the Chinese Communist Party and their People's Liberation Army and Navy is great news. Better news is that a new generation of business titans like Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, Palmer Luckey, and of course Elon Musk have been aware of the threat to the freedom of the seas for many years, and their initiatives and companies are already about the work of the next generation weapon systems we need to overcome the advantage China has built up via sheer numbers and massive war-making capacity. It's time to get serious and put money where the initiatives have to be. I'm Hugh Hewitt.
Don't miss Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn every Sunday from 11 to 12. Robert has a different way of looking at retirement from most financial advisors and is happy to share his ideas with you every week. So don't miss what he has to say. Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn, Sunday mornings from 11 to 12 on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a brisk breeze, but temperatures won't be as chilly, reaching a high of 25. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with cold conditions as the low drops to 17. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, but not as cold as today with the high of 37. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Hope you had a nice weekend. Unfortunately, around the Western world, things were pretty bloody, as I'm sure you know, to varying degrees. We'll get to it all, but you had 3 Americans killed, 2 Iowa National Guardsmen, a civilian interpreter, and 3 wounded by an ISIS terrorist in Syria. Then, of course, the mass shooting on the campus of Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, where 2 students were killed and 9 injured. We don't have last report. No one is in custody. The person of interest that they had taken into custody over the weekend was released. We'll get to that. And then the mass shooting at Bondi Beach in Australia, where at least 15 were murdered and 40 were injured in a terrorist attack during a Hanukkah celebration there on Bondi Beach. And we know a lot more about this case, and we know a lot more about the response, so let's start there. What we know about this case is it was a father and son tandem of Pakistani origin, or extraction, Pakistani extraction, And they came to the beach knowing it was a Hanukkah celebration for the purpose of killing Jews. Here was an eyewitness account.
Can you tell me what happened?
Yes, it was 2 shooters, one on the bridge, one under the bridge. Just started to shoot for 20 minutes. They shoot, change the magazine and just shoot. Simple as that. 20 minutes with 4 policemen there. Nobody gave fire back. Nothing. Like they are froze. It looked like 20 minutes. And they shoot. The guy changed magazine. I look at him all the time. I was doing my babies under me, and I look at that, and it's just rifle and a pistol, and just shoot. And the other one was under. They start to come close to the audience. One of the people took his rifle and shoot him. That's one of them. That's what I saw. I didn't know how much I saw, but
who were they targeting?
Oh, all the crowd, anyone, Jewish, just shoot. Doesn't matter who. Men, all kids, everyone was no.
That's right. And from a 10-year-old girl to an 87-year-old Holocaust survivor, they murdered 15 people. The Aussie police also confirmed in their statements to the media there that this was a considered plan, because there were also explosives found in a car nearby, so that speaks to planning, perhaps a escape. An escape was part of the plan, or certainly the infliction of casualties on a mass scale, in addition, even above and beyond the horrors that were committed.
It's way too early to give any description of the firearms other than to say that they were long arms. Where they came from, their background, how they came to be in possession of the offenders, it's too early to say. As part of the investigation and shortly after the shooting occurred, police located a vehicle in Campbell Parade at Bondi, which we believe has several improvised explosive devices. We have our rescue bomb disposal unit there at the moment working on that.
What is the latest?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You also, of course, in the immediacy, after he was able to bring himself to characterize this as an intended attack on Jewish people, that was the purpose. It was initially, the initial description or the initial reaction from Anthony Albanese, who is the Prime Minister of Australia, was to talk about being sort of distressed and horrified and so on and so forth, but it was all very generic. Took him a while before he could bring himself to describe what actually happened and the obvious basis for this, Islamist terrorism. But when he did, his first reaction was to call for additional gun control measures in Australia. Australia is one of the most highly regulated countries in the Western world when it comes to guns. People may know. There was a mass shooting about 30 years ago in Port Arthur in Tasmania, where some 40 people were murdered. And after that, there were serious gun confiscation measures that were put into place. There was a mandatory gun buyback that was initiated by the federal government. And under the 1996 National Firearms Agreement, the NFA there, firearm ownership is a privilege, not a right in Australia. There has to be a genuine reason to own a firearm, and self-defense does not qualify. A person must have a valid firearm license to possess or use a firearm. All firearms must be registered to the owner. Licenses have specific categories and are typically renewed every 3 to 10 years. Genuine reason is like sport shooting, hunting, pest control, supported by evidence like club membership or landowner permission. The NFA bans most semi-automatic rifles and shotguns. Obviously, possession of fully auto military weapons is prohibited. Mandatory 28-day cooling-off period applies to new gun purchases. Strict uniform standards for firearm storage are required. And just in the last couple of years, a national firearms registry was created, and there have been, at the local level, there have been various initiatives to further restrict private gun ownership. But the immediate reaction is for more stringent gun control measures, because it is the instrumentality of evil and not the evil itself, as we talk about all the time in these matters, that the left wants to focus upon, and that, of course, includes Anthony Albanese. In addition, you heard from the eyewitness, there were 4 police officers that were spotted, and this was repeated by other eyewitnesses too, that didn't return fire, it would appear. That hasn't been explained, at least that I've seen from Australian authorities, but that's eyewitness. You heard that man, that eyewitness account about they were there, and these 2 terrorists were able to just fire indiscriminately into an unarmed crowd without any return fire for police that were at the scene. And actually, there's a remarkable amount of video, if you've been following the story over the weekend, that has been posted online. And there's one clip that I watched, literally 10 minutes long, when both of the terrorists are in an elevated position, like on a bridge, shooting on opposite sides. And it's just on and on and on, and it's clear they are the only ones shooting, as I'm sure you don't get this from the video, but as I'm sure as people are scurrying for cover or trying to tend to the wounded, because there's also video of that, and it is very difficult to watch. It looks like something you would see on a battlefield, where people are, you see one gentleman covered from his neck up. He's clearly dead. You see other people tending to the wounded. I mean, it is brutal. And so police have some reckoning to provide in terms of why did it take so long for a significant force to get there, such that one of the gunmen, the father, was finally put down, and the son was wounded and taken into custody. What was the response time for their officers on scene? And again, there's video and pictures of officers on scene, including eyewitness accounts. Why were they not engaging the shooters? And then the issue of proposed gun control as the knee-jerk reaction to this. And then the larger question about the willy-nilly open borders policies of the left, what they have chosen to import, and how they have or have not, and I think the answer is pretty much they have, turned a blind eye to the rise of anti-Semitism in Australia, as has happened elsewhere, not exclusively with respect to Muslim immigrants, but importantly, that's a part of it. And don't forget, 2 years ago, after the October 7th terrorist attack by Hamas, other Islamist terrorists in Gaza, remember when you saw those people around the world celebrating the indiscriminate murder of Jewish people at the hands of Islamist terrorists? Remember when you saw that? There were people that were celebrating, and a lot of people rationalizing all throughout the West, and a lot of people celebrating grotesquely. And one of the examples that we brought you on this show, and I'll remind you, was a group of people, not exclusively Muslim, but it was a significant part of the contingent, outside the Opera House in Sydney, chanting things like this. If you can't make that out, they're chanting, "Gas the Jews." We'll take your calls, have more on this, and then fold in that mass shooting at Brown University as well, 538. Now let's check the headlines.
Good morning. It is just 8 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A Chicago firefighter was injured battling a blaze in Humboldt Park this weekend. That fire broke out just before midnight on Saturday in an apartment complex on Lawndale Avenue. Officials with the Chicago Fire Department say one of the firefighters was hurt by debris and was taken to the hospital for treatment. He's listed in fair to serious condition. One other person also suffered injuries and was transported to the hospital and was listed in fair condition. The cause of that blaze is still under investigation. A former Joliet police sergeant has filed a lawsuit claiming that he was the victim of retaliation after blowing the whistle on the death of a man who died while in police custody. According to the suit, Sergeant Javier Esqueda leaked a video showing officers trying to recover bags of drugs from the man's mouth and in doing so suffocated him to death. Esqueda initially faced charges for that leak. He's seeking damages for malicious prosecution, loss of income, and punitive damages. This report is a service of Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole department store inside your Macy's store where you can find last-minute gifts for everyone on your list, all for under $20. With new arrivals every day, you never know what amazing deals you'll find. Don't wait. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com.
This December could be one that you'll always remember if you enter the Roland's Jewelers 12 Days of Christmas contest. You could win a $200 gift card from Roland's Jewelers in Libertyville. We're drawing 12 winners throughout the month of December, and you could be one of them. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/gift. That's 560theanswer.com/gift.
The Christmas season is the most wonderful time of the year. But for Chicago's police, fire, and EMS, it can be challenging. Long nights on the beat and daily reminders of lost colleagues and friends can weigh heavily on the mind. R.J. Ullman Company, a commercial HVAC contractor 50 years invested in the building up of the city of Chicago, has partnered with the Well Resource Center, a local nonprofit organization on a mission to build up the health and well-being of our sometimes forgotten first responders and their families. Mental health is mental wealth. The Well offers enriching and meaningful weekly events for men and women. We encourage both the city's first responders and donors to visit the Well Resource Center online at thewellrc.org for more information, or simply drop by the club, 6160 West Higgins in the 16th District. No appointment is needed. Merry Christmas from your friends at R.J. Ullman Company and The Well.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select Steel tools. Shop online or in store.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect a mix of clouds and sun with a noticeable breeze, but temperatures won't be as chilly, reaching a high of 25. Tonight will be mainly clear with cold conditions as the low drops to 17. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy skies, but it will be milder than today with a high of 37. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. We have a lot of death and mayhem to pour over this morning, unfortunately. And we began the show talking about the mass shooting on Bondi Beach in Australia. 2 Pakistani men of Pakistani extraction. I don't know if they were in the country in Australia legally or not. The reporting is they were radicalized and pledged their allegiance to the Islamic State. Not a lot of color on beyond that, at least from what I've seen from Sky News and the BBC and the Western press so far. But it has put an exclamation point on the threat that Islamofascism still poses to the West and to the world. Totalitarian in disposition and terrorist in action. 16, the last reporting, 16 dead, 40 injured. Just thinking about some of the victims before we get into the policy and geopolitical implications. I mentioned a 10-year-old girl named Matilda, a Holocaust survivor, French citizen, rabbi that was executed. Matilda, a 10-year-old girl described by her hand as a very sweet, happy child with a beautiful smile, enjoying festivities at Bondi Beach with her parents, younger sister, and friends when the 2 gunmen opened fire. Rabbi Eli Schlanger organized the Hanukkah by the Sea event at Bondi Beach, served as an assistant rabbi at a local Chabad house. Devoted rabbi and chaplain, said the Chabad statement from the Chabad house, adding that he worked tirelessly to support Jewish life in the Bondi community. For 18 years, the Schlangers served the Jewish community, but the rabbi's influence extended far beyond the walls of a single synagogue. He served as a chaplain to NSW Corrective Services and NSW Prisoners of War. He was also a chaplain at St. Vincent's Hospital, where he ministered to parents and family. And then this one, really gets you. I mean, you survive the Holocaust, the commitment of the West is never again, and then you get gunned down in an Islamist-fueled mass attack. 87-year-old Alex Klaitman, Holocaust survivor, died while shielding his wife Larissa from one of the gunman's bullets. Klaitman, a native of Ukraine, leaves behind his wife, 2 children, and 11 grandchildren. And it goes on from there. The strikes me as the rather feckless Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese, offered this statement after such time that he could no longer pretend that this had something to do with Islamism.
Day of Hanukkah, which should be a day of joy, a celebration of faith, an act of evil anti-Semitism, terrorism that has struck the heart of our nation. An attack on Jewish Australians is an attack on every Australian. And every Australian tonight will be, like me, devastated on this attack on our way of life. There is no place for this hate, violence and terrorism in our nation. Let me be clear, we will eradicate it. Amidst this vile act of violence and hate will emerge a moment of national unity, where Australians across the board will embrace their fellow Australians of Jewish faith at this dark moment for our nation. Our police and security agents...
You know, I'm a little skeptical that they're going to eradicate it when he can't tell you what it is. Aren't you? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. There's also the track record. Peter Kurdy is the director of the Culture, Prosperity, and Civil Society program at the Center for Independent Studies. He's also an adjunct associate professor of law at the University of Notre Dame in Australia. He has an op-ed in the Journal. Australia's complacency in the Bondi Beach shooting. Anti-Semitism has been rising for 2 years, but elites refuse to treat it as a serious threat. For American readers, Australia's experience should not feel remote. Like the U.S., Australia is a liberal democracy that prides itself on tolerance, pluralism, and public order. And like the U.S., it has discovered since October 7th of 2023, the terrorist attack in Gaza, of course, it has since discovered since then how quickly those assumptions can erode when anti-Semitism is minimized rather than confronted. For years, Australia reassured itself that anti-Semitism is marginal, an imported pathology or an online nuisance safely removed from everyday life. That belief is no longer credible. Since October 7th, Jewish Australians have reported a sharp rise in harassment, intimidation, vandalism, and threats at schools, universities, workplaces, and public spaces. Anti-Semitic graffiti had already appeared in Bondi in the weeks before the attack. The violence didn't emerge from nowhere. It was the most extreme expression of a wound to the body politic that has been allowed to fester. Political violence, writes Kurdy, grows when hostility is normalized, when legitimate grievances are dismissed, and when those targeted are told explicitly or implicitly that their fear is exaggerated or politically inconvenient. That's a good description as to how the left treats the threat of radical Islamist terrorism. And when that happens, writes Kurdy, the social guardrails fail. The pattern is familiar. Elites hesitate to name anti-Semitism clearly for fear of inflaming tensions, only to discover that ambiguity emboldens extremists rather than restraining them. The result isn't social peace, but a slow erosion of the norms that make peaceful pluralism possible in the first place. And Kurdy goes through a few things he believes the Australian government must do to combat anti-Semitism. But one of the things he doesn't mention, which has to be mentioned, is looking at the importation of wide swaths of people from countries that are incubators of radical Islamist terrorism. I mean, it is just beyond question the commonsensical thing to do, and yet the leftist politicians can't even bring themselves to have a discussion about it. To even suggest such a thing is to, respond to hate with hate or some other bull jive aphorism that they come up with to continue perpetuating their the identitarian politics they think they need to practice in order to stay in public office. I mean, it's just that simple. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Matt, Mount Greenwood.
Good morning, Dan. I'm speechless, but, the West is full of these Neville Chamberlain-like people who just are trying to save their jobs. I get that, but they're soulless beings, and let's face it, not all Muslims are bad.
Of course not.
You're talking about a little bit of a lot. We have a problem here. We're not vetting people. Like you said, these people are coming from radicalized countries. And, the first thing after Brown, what do the Democrats do? Talk about gun control. 20 minutes of these guys shooting in Australia, and no one had the ability to stop them. That's sinful. It's utterly sinful. And people had better wake up. Because if you look at Sharia law, really look at it, which most people don't, It is a religion of violence. That's a fact. And we better do something about it and wake up to it, because we're all going to be in a lot worse shape, certainly our children and our children's children if we don't. Have a good day, Dan.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Joe Lonsdale, the venture capitalist, he posted on X, Australia has been importing huge numbers of radicalized Gazans at the expense of its own taxpayers. It's very sad, but no surprise that Jews there now face deadly terrorist attacks. Jews should leave Australia, and we must keep Islamists out of the USA and watch them closely. He was responding to a report, and now, again, these men, this father and son terrorist tandem of Pakistani extraction, but the larger point, I believe, still holds. He's also responding to a report, again, consistent with what Professor Kurdi was talking about with respect to the ambivalence the political leadership of Australia has shown towards the rise of anti-Semitism, that an Israeli security source said that Israel provided information to Australian authorities of a planned attack, including concrete operational details. And apparently, at least so far as we know, Australia didn't take that Israeli intel seriously. Now, again, the nature of the concrete details that were provided, was it in relation to this attack at Bondi Beach? And could, if they had taken it seriously, could they have had a police presence and prevented it? I don't know. But based on that reporting, that's a question that Australian authorities should be compelled to answer, shouldn't they? In addition to police, in addition to the speciousness of stricter gun control, in addition to their hesitancy to call out radical Islamist terrorism. I mean, all the same infirmities that we have with the same sort of politicians in this country. As Professor Kurdi said, that this shouldn't seem remote at all to Americans. Jeannie in Valpo.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. I just wanted to relate. A couple of years ago, my husband and I were touring Auschwitz and Birkenau in Poland, and we were in line to enter the Birkenau concentration camp with that iconic brick archway where the trains went through with all the Jewish prisoners. And there was a group of 4 or 5 Muslim men standing in front of us, taking selfies and pictures of each other with their thumbs in the air and great big smiles on their faces. And my husband and I were just appalled. And the rest of the line was subdued in a somber group because of where we were at. And it was an uncanny, eerie feeling. And it was just scary. I don't know how to describe it, but it left a really bad impression and a lot of distrust and a new perspective on things. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Jeannie. No, it's sickening. There's a sickening element. Again, as Matt from Mount Green was sort of getting to one of my sayings, small percentage of a big number can be a big problem. A small percentage of 1.5 Muslims worldwide can be a big problem. I mean, is that really up for debate? How much evidence do we need exactly? The evolutionary biologist, friend of the show, from Lebanon originally, Gad Saad. Please try to be empathetic and look the other way as your civilization is being raped and murdered into oblivion. Die kindly. Sort of a translation of the rhetorical posture that is taken by these leftist politicians in Australia, in Western Europe, in America. Die kindly, won't you? Please don't kick up any dust. Elon Musk responding to that Gad Saad tweet or Axe post. Either the suicidal empathy of Western civilization ends or Western civilization will end. Yeah. We need to be a little hard-headed about these matters, don't we? Bill, Northwest Side.
Every time we have one of these incidents where the population of that country has allowed their governments to disarm them, we can just thank God for our Second Amendment, can't we, Dan? It's not going to happen to you or me.
100%. And thanks for the call, Bill. 100%. And how many lives could have been saved if somebody was able to return fire, particularly when police didn't, for as long as they didn't. In addition to that, and again, just to make this clear, I mean, it's always clear. We always come from this place. We don't play guilt by association here. We're talking about a specific cadre of terrorists within a larger population. It's based on behavior. Because the flip side is, as I'm sure many of you saw, some of the incredible video that's been distributed online, this fruit stand owner named Ahmad El-Ahmad, so, probably Muslim as well, unarmed, he went after the father and actually, it came up behind him as he saw him shooting on the sidewalk before he got to an elevated position with his son, ostensibly because he rearmed. But this fruit stand owner grabbed him from behind, disarmed him, pushed him to the ground, and had the gun trained on the terrorist. Now, why he let him get up and get away, I'm not criticizing him. He did something unbelievably heroic, and he saved lives, and he's being feted for having done so. But you see him get disarmed, and then there's later video footage of that same guy and that bridge or that elevated position, like I said, with another long gun shooting people with his son. And I hate to talk about it so matter of fact because it's so unbelievably heinous, evil, but that's what happened, as at least if you can piece together this video. Anyway, that fruit stand owner was shot a couple of times too. Here's a report on him and his condition, including an interview with a friend of his who ran over to the hospital to see him.
The gentleman who raced into the scene to disarm one of the gunmen. We're just learning some details about him because he has been shot. Now, we are confident in saying that that is him. One of his relatives has just spoken to one of our reporters. We've got an interview coming in. We understand that this gentleman's name is Ahmed El-Ahmed. He's a 43-year-old married father of two. And he raced in to help. We understand apparently owns a fruit shop in Sutherland. No experience with guns. He was just walking past. We are told that he has 2 bullets in his arm, but they think he's going to be okay. And in the next hour, let's have a listen to the hero's relatives talking about his acts this evening at Bondi Beach.
Still, he's in the hospital, and we don't know exactly what's going inside. But they said the doctor, he's very okay. And next 2 hours, they let us to go in and see Ahmed, because he's still inside and he do the operation. But we hope he will be fine. He's a hero, 100%. He's a hero because what we see on the social media, he's 100% hero.
To his shoulder?
Yeah, he have 2 shots, one in his arm here and one in his hand.
And have you been able to talk to him today?
No, because I come when I see what's happening. And I come here to see him, but they said he's not allowed to go inside because he have to make an operation, whatever. I'm still waiting to see him.
So the initial reporting that was that he got shot in the gut, so it was good to hear that it was, the arm and the hand and that he's going to be okay. But anyway, you had somebody who wasn't just going to be an innocent bystander and film what was going on, the indiscriminate murder of people on their phone and let that be their contribution. This guy interceded and good for him. Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. Well, what needs to happen is more monitoring of social media and also profiling of how people are behaving, too, instead of the gun control.
Thanks for the call, Eduardo. Again, I mean, we've provided this reminder, unfortunately, several times because we're not that far removed from radical Islamist terrorist attacks being a all too infrequent event in America. Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed is United Arab Emirates foreign minister. 8 years ago, he warned Europe what was, and the West in general, he warned Europe and the West what was coming, this foreign minister from United Arab Emirates.
And let me say this in English so you can understand what I'm saying.
I have translation.
No, I know you have translation, but I just want to make sure you get it right. There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of the lack of decision making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
Yeah, and that level of ignorance is quite deadly, isn't it? Glenn, Orlando.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. I'm just worried about what's going to happen in New York January 1st with the new mayor and how much violence is going to increase because I think it's inevitable.
The new mayor, Zoran Mamdani, had the same reaction to the mass shooting on the campus of Brown University that the Prime Minister of Australia had to the mass shooting on Bondi Beach, which is to say, more gun control. That was Mamdani's first reaction. Stricter gun control, that's would have prevented the shooting on the campus of Brown University, which we'll get to the top of next hour. Mac in the 219, quickly, please.
I'll tell you what you really need. You really need more Muslim control. I was on the floor of the Board of Trade in '95, and I did a lot of work with British banks. And when I heard the number 2 name of newborn boys was Mohammed, I go, you guys have better close your borders. That was in '95, and they haven't learned a single thing. And everybody knows this stuff.
Thanks, Mac. Appreciate it. All right, coming up at 6:06, we will turn our attention to that shooting on the campus of Brown University. Take more of your calls on both. 312-642-5600, Turnkey Depot Answer Line. It is now 6 o'clock on AM 560.
This is a Fox News alert. A famous movie director being mourned in Hollywood. I'm Dave Anthony. Rob Reiner first gained fame as an actor on TV.
Gloria, if I thought for 1 second that boy was my son.
He won Emmys for his role as Meathead on All in the Family. Then Reiner became an acclaimed director of movies, including Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, and When Harry Met Sally. Rob Reiner was 78. He and his wife, Michelle, were found stabbed to death in their Los Angeles home.
There are multiple reports that police are talking to a family member of the Reiners.
Fox's Jonathan Hunt in L.A. says one of their children is reportedly a person of interest.
32-year-old Nick Reiner, his son, who has been open in the past about his struggles with drug addiction and mental health issues.
A mass shooter remains on the loose around Providence, Rhode Island.
A stunning turn of events here at Brown University when authorities last night at about 11:30 at night held that press conference and told the world that they had the wrong guy and are now looking for a person of interest, the gunman responsible for killing 2 students and wounding 9 other students at the engineering and physics building.
That's Fox's Brian Yennis. Even more people were gunned down on a beach in Australia.
I saw children falling to the floor, so elderly I saw, invalids I saw, people just, it was an absolute bloodbath, blood gushing everywhere.
He watched as 2 gunmen murdered 15 and wounded at least 38 more.
A father 50 years old and a son 24 targeted a park at Sydney's famous Bondi Beach where there was an event with hundreds of people gathered to celebrate the first day of Hanukkah. Officials describe it as a terrible act of anti-Semitism. In fact, an act of terrorism against the Jewish community.
Fox's Greg Palcott. The father was killed by police, the son disarmed by a bystander and injured. President Trump vows retaliation in Syria after ISIS attack over the weekend killed 2 Americans. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. morning. It is 9 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed Senate Bill 1950, prompting strong backlash from medical, disability, religious, and legal groups who say it was rushed and violates key ethical and legal protections. Katrina Parker has the story.
State Representative Bill Howder, a practicing physician, said Pritzker showed signs of hesitation, but ultimately his leftist ideology took over and he signed it.
So many of the disability groups, the medical ethics groups, and the religious groups that were strongly opposed have any really chance to bring their opposition to their elected representatives.
The bill passed both chambers by some of the tightest margins Howder said he's ever seen. Members of the Legislative Black Caucus fear the law will create a two-tiered health care system, especially harming those without financial means. I'm Katrina Parker.
A Chicago firefighter is recovering after being injured while battling a blaze in Humboldt Park over the weekend. According to reports, that fire broke out just before midnight Saturday at an apartment complex on Lawndale Avenue. Fire crews fought the blaze as they worked to help rescue people from the burning building. Chicago Fire Department officials say one of the firefighters was hurt by debris and taken to the hospital for treatment. He was listed in fair to serious condition. One other person also suffered injuries and was transported to the hospital and listed in fair condition. The cause of the blaze still under investigation. And a man has been arrested for breaking into a Downers Grove High School last week. According to reports, 56-year-old Dion McLaughlin is being held on one count of aggravated attempted robbery and one count of aggravated battery to a school employee. McLaughlin is due back in court in early January. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2026? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it?
This is what Christmas is all about.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th. You can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Nice. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
You know me. I believe in freedom, independence, and the values that built this country. Now, I'll be the first to say President Trump has taken the steps towards reviving our economy. But inflation, trade deficits, and global uncertainty are hitting hardworking Americans where it hurts. Here's the truth. I refuse to let these hidden forces decide my future. That's why I help protect my wealth with real assets, physical gold and silver. For generations, these metals have held value no matter who's in office or what the markets do. To me, gold and silver mean independence, not just for today, but for tomorrow. If you want the peace of mind I've found, it's time to take action. I've partnered with the #1 rated precious metals company, Goldco, and right now they're offering first-time buyers a rebate of up to 10% in bonus silver on qualified accounts. Visit LaraLikesGold.com to learn how you can help safeguard your savings with gold and silver the way I do. That's LaraLikesGold.com.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pegol, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
The holidays are here again, and it's really getting cold outside. It's time to snuggle up by the fireplace with a delicious mug full of Bob's Belgian hot chocolate. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Each sip is so rich, so luxurious, and oh so chocolatey. Bob makes his hot chocolate with 100% imported Belgian chocolate, and it's so easy to make. You just stir it into hot milk and voila! You just made yourself the best hot chocolate ever. You can buy Bob's Belgian hot chocolate mix and sticks online at bobsbelgianhotchocolate.com or visit us at Chris Kindle Markets at Daily Plaza, Wrigley, and Aurora. Come on out and join in on all of the holiday fun with visitors from all over the world. We can click our glasses and wish each other good cheer with a delicious mug full of Bob's Belgian hot chocolate. Oh my gosh, it's so good. bobsbelgianhotchocolate.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Good morning. Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. In great shape out there on your main roadways. No delays at all on the Eden inbound from Lake Hook to Montrose. 15 minutes. Outbound is 13. The Kennedy looks good from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. 17 minutes inbound. Outbound is 21. No problems on the Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. It's about 28 minutes in both directions. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 17. Outbound is 16. Just a slight tap on the brakes on the inbound Bishop Ford from Cottage Grove Avenue to the Dan Ryan. And the inbound Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 12. Outbound is 11. And a little bit sluggish on the inbound express lanes as you approach the Stevenson. This report is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Currently buying all gold and silver bars and coins, silver dollars, rare date proof, and mint sets. Visit foxvalleycoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a mix of clouds and sun with a noticeable breeze, but temperatures won't be as chilly, reaching a high of 25. Tonight will be mainly clear with cold conditions as the low drops to 17. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy skies, but it will be milder than today with a high of 37. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, talking about the terrorist attacks, foiled terror attack in Germany, and mass shooting on the campus of Brown University over the weekend. Just sticking with the terrorist attack in Australia, Bondi Beach. A Daily Mail is reporting this morning, Israeli intelligence services have identified Tehran as the prime suspect behind the Bondi Beach terror attack that killed 16, including a 10-year-old girl, including a Holocaust survivor. Israeli intelligence sources say the attack appeared sophisticated and well-planned with the hallmarks of Unit 910, Hezbollah's external operations arm. There's also speculation about links to Hamas and Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is, of course, Pakistan is where this father and son terrorist tandem is from originally. Continuing the pattern, it fits exactly with Iranian operations in Australia over the past year. In August of this year, Australia expelled Iran's ambassador over allegations he directed attacks against Jewish targets in Sydney and Melbourne, including the December 2024 synagogue firebombing in Melbourne and October 2024 cafe arson in Sydney. Sydney's intelligence chief said his team uncovered links between the alleged crimes and commanders in Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. The gunman and his father. The father arrived in Sydney in 1998 on a student visa. He held a license for 6 weapons, all found to have been used in the attack, and was a gun club member for a decade. So ostensibly, being a gun club member was the genuine need reason that he gave the Australian government to legally obtain a license to purchase and own firearms. And the fact that he had 6 weapons also explains, because at Fox News at the top of the hour, they've got this wrong. The idea that the fruit stand owner disarmed, came up and disarmed the son, and the father was killed by police. So that's not what went down. And you can see this from the video. What happened, that fruit stand owner, who is a hero, Ahmad El Ahmad, came up behind. It's the father he came up behind, grabbed him from behind as he was shooting, and was able to wrestle the long gun away from him, push him to the ground, and then basically hold him there. But then the father somehow scurried off, because later you see both father and son on an elevated position on a bridge. Father, and if you watch this 10-minute video that's posted, you see this firefight going on when police finally arrived. They finally started returning fire, and the father gets taken out, and then a minute later the son gets taken down. He wasn't killed, he was injured, but the father was killed. Both of them together, both of them were still on the attack. Okay. A Iranian expert saying to the Daily Mail, given the short history of Iranian activity and Unit 910 in Australia, they are definitely suspects and high on the priority list. An Israeli intel expert on Hezbollah, Australia has long been known to be a hub for Hezbollah, so it could be a joint operation between Hezbollah and the Quds Force, Iranian. Yeah. So, this is starting to come into focus now, what responsive Australian officials will be to this. Well, that's a whole nother matter. Turning our attention to, just one thing, just to make the next, as it really shouldn't need much dot connecting to relevance to America and our own security interests. In addition, the obvious, our own humanity. Nobody wants to see people indiscriminately gunned down, of course, but also to our national security interests and concerns of the same variety as the Daily Mail is reporting. And it's not like we haven't had Islamist terrorist plots foiled here recently, like the one in Oklahoma planned for Election Day. Anyway, this story out that was not getting enough attention. Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, 18,000 individuals with terror ties entered the United States under Biden. 18,000. That's their best estimate right now. What we're seeing right now is the exact result where we have a direct threat on the lives of the American people. On this specific issue about vetting, she said, for example, among the 18,000 known or suspected terrorists that we know about in the country, my deepest concern is that there is so many more that we are not aware of yet. But of that 18,000 number, 2,000 we know of were part of Operation Allies Welcome that brought Afghan refugees here. And her chief of staff, Joe Kent, testified about those 2,000 Afghan refugees, after the attack the day before Thanksgiving, where that Afghan refugee, or that asylee, I guess, Afghan asylee was here legally, murdered the one National Guardsman and severely injured the other. This was what Joe Kent had to say to a congressional committee about the 2,000 here that Gabbard referenced.
Just like the entry of the Afghan terrorists who committed the terrorist attack here just before Thanksgiving, killing one of our National Guard members and wounding another, that Afghan was brought into the country as a group of over 100,000 Afghans who were brought here during the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. These individuals, despite what has been reported, were not vetted properly to come into the United States. The individual terrorist who committed the attack in D.C., he was vetted to serve as a soldier in Afghanistan. The Biden administration essentially used his tactical level vetting as a ruse to bring him here and to bring him into our communities. And we've seen the tragic results of that. Now, that Afghan, that attacker, that terrorist is just one of 88,000. We've identified 2,000 of that group of 88,000 who have ties to terrorist organizations. We're working right now hand in hand with DHS and with the FBI to run down this 2,000, the Afghans who came here under Allies Welcome, who have ties to terrorist organizations.
So you have hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens that have criminal charges or criminal convictions facing them. You have, and embedded in there, round numbers, so this is imprecise. 18,000 individuals with terrorist ties, 2,000 of which are came in as sort of that group parole that the Biden administration did for Afghan refugees without anything resembling vetting. No more vetting than was done for those who worked with American soldiers overseas, vetting them to be mercenaries or interpreters. And in many cases, I'm sure their service was meritorious and they deserve consideration. And in other cases, clearly, they don't, as we found out the hard way the day before Thanksgiving. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Let's turn our attention to Brown University, since this is very curious. So a guy comes in and shoots up a building, a physics building where students are prepping for finals. There's some 300 odd cameras on the campus of Brown University. I know they caught, this individual. One of the cameras did this individual that was, basically in black and hoodie and so on and so forth. So it was difficult to make out any facial features to identify him. But he is able to slip out and go unapprehended to this point. They had a person of interest over the weekend from a suburb of Milwaukee, actually, who apparently was finishing. He had served in the military in Arlington Cemetery and was finishing his education at Brown. And he had driven 17 hours from a suburb of Wisconsin to Brown over the, nexus to the time of this mass shooting. But the Providence Police Chief, Oscar Lopez, under questioning from the press, had to say, not exactly they got the wrong guy, but the guy this young man, 24-year-old, had been identified. Didn't exactly say they got the wrong guy, but did say they didn't have the evidence to keep him.
The FBI director specifically said in his tweet that it was a tip from Providence Police that led you all to Hampton Inn. Can you confirm if that's true, and what exactly was the evidence that led you to this person of interest?
Yeah, so it was there was a tip that came in, just like we were taking any other tips, and that one came in specifically identifying a person of interest, which was this individual. And so our detectives got on it, just like they got on others, but in this specific one, it was actually picked up by the FBI, and they followed through with it, and they ended up coming and locating this individual of interest, and at that point, we did a thorough investigation, examined, ended up drafting some search warrants, came up with some evidence, but that evidence was examined, and we didn't have enough, obviously, to be able to prosecute anybody, and so that person was released.
Didn't have enough to prosecute anybody, so that person was released. Obviously, we'll update that part of the story as information becomes available. I should hasten to add that the mayor of Providence, Rhode Island, boy, we keep exporting him, don't we? Is a guy named Brett Smiley. He is a gay dude from Chicagoland. Went to DePaul. He was Melissa Bean's campaign manager back in 2004 And then he served as the guy who ran her office, Congressman Melissa Bean. You remember her, Congresswoman Melissa Bean? Then served as the guy to run her office for a year before he decided to make his way out to Providence and pursue his political ambitions. I mentioned that this soy boy is the mayor of Providence, Rhode Island, because if and when the person responsible for murdering 2 people and injuring 9 others is identified and a motive becomes obvious, you can expect mealy mouth. I'm just preparing you. I shouldn't say you can expect. Don't be surprised when you hear mealy-mouthed silliness from the mayor of Providence, Rhode Island, as you have already heard from the incoming mayor of New York City. I mentioned the knee-jerk reaction from Mamdani is to talk about gun control. Pretty tight gun restrictions in Rhode Island, as tight as they can be, given Supreme Court holdings on our individual right to protect ourselves, to defend ourselves, our individual Second Amendment rights, unlike Australia, where it's a privilege to be conferred by the government or not. Don't be surprised when you have, if and when you have a suspect in custody and there's a political motivation. If that's what comes to pass, don't be surprised with the rhetoric you hear from Brett Smiley. I doubt it will be much different than, say, the immediate reaction you got from the USC women's basketball coach. Why is she relevant? Because she tried to make herself relevant. Because Lindsay Gottlieb is a alum of Brown University.
Before we start, I came out from the game and had a million text messages about a mass shooting at my alma mater, Brown. So that's hard. Doesn't need to be this way. Sending thoughts and prayers to my teammates who have kids there, to the parents who have to worry about their children. I'm just going to end it with that, but just to say we're the only country that lives this way. The college football cycle has been in the news a million times, and are we going to report about this? It's the guns. We're the only country that lives this way. Parents should not have to worry about their kids. I have a teammate who has a daughter who is in the basement of a library because they don't know what's going on there, and she's flying there tomorrow. So just wanted to start with that.
We don't have to live like this, right? If we just somehow magically flip a switch and eliminate all the guns and give the world a Coke and a smile, then we'll all live in perfect harmony. That's an Ivy League grad. They really churn out the sentimental barbarians, don't they? Talking about the victims, one of the victims, at least, has been identified by her priest, not on site, but through word of mouth, because she made an announcement at Mass yesterday. Ella Cook is her name. She's from Birmingham, Alabama. She was the vice president of the Republican Club at Brown. This is a priest at her church, Cathedral Church of the Advent in Birmingham, talking about Ella Cook.
I want to share a word with you before we sing and before you hear the name in our prayers. It's a tremendous heaviness that is upon our congregation today. Many of you heard about the tragedy which happened at Brown University, the shootings which took place, and a number of young people who died. And sadly, tragically, one of those people is one of our parishioners. Ella Cook was one of those. Richard and Anna Cook's daughter, Hooker, and Mary Hamner's sister was one of those. And for those of you who knew her, who know her, she was a just incredibly grounded and generous and faithful and bright light, both here at the Advent over many years as she was engaged and involved in our worship in our community, and as she served here at the church and in the wider community, in all sincerity, just a tremendous and bright light in there at Brown University as well in the time that she was there. Was such a light and such a witness. And as we gather as a people today, of course, we remember the words from John's Gospel: the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not, and the darkness will not overcome it. And I'm grateful in the midst of the heaviness and the sadness that we gather and grieve as people who are hopeful.
Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When age-related health issues arise, don't just treat the body, treat the soul. For over 130 years, Lutheran Life has provided nonprofit, Christ-centered care for seniors. Arlington Heights, Ottawa, Bloomington, and Crown Point. 4 Lutheran Life communities to serve all your needs for assisted living, memory care, nursing, and rehab. Find out how by visiting LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
You okay down there?
I tripped over old china boxes in the basement, and now I'm stuck behind the ping pong table we never use.
I'm coming to the rescue, if I can find you.
You know, if we finished this basement, we could actually enjoy this space.
I think it's time to call Forever Remodeling.
Forever Remodeling turns disaster zones into game rooms, guest bedrooms and bathrooms, home theaters, a custom space just for you. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body. It steals your life. I know, because I've seen it with people I care about. Maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They understand that. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going into the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering. Just your body doing what it was designed to do, which is heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. Make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They have weekend appointments, free consultations, and you can use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. That number is 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. One more time for the good of the order, 312-827-6261.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98. My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens, $18.99. Kings, only $1 more. 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. Promo code LIBERTY.
AM 560, The Answer.
Text from 847. You won't see people on the right celebrating Rob Reiner's murder compared to the left's reaction to Charlie Kirk's murder. Yeah, you're right. The murder of Rob Reiner and his wife, terrible. We'll get to that as well. His son, People Magazine reported that his son did it, and the LAPD is saying something different. Person of interest. As of late last night, they were still waiting for a search warrant for the home to do a comprehensive search. But we will update that story. Coming up at 6:36, I hate to wallow in death and misery during the holidays or ever, but, well, one way to address it is to lift up the value of life, the gift that is life. And we'll do that in reviewing Governor Jelly Belly's action on Friday to sign that assisted suicide legislation into law, which he did. Take your calls on that. That's 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 9 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. 2 Chicago firefighters were injured battling blazes over the weekend. According to reports, a firefighter was hurt by debris while working a fire in the Humboldt Park area just after midnight on Saturday. The second firefighter was hurt yesterday while working to put out a fire at a residence in the area of East 135th Street and South Avenue M. Officials say that firefighter suffered an injury to their lower leg. A former Joliet police sergeant has filed a lawsuit claiming that he's the victim of retaliation after blowing the whistle on a death of a man who died while in police custody. Sergeant Javier Esqueda leaked a video showing officers trying to recover bags of drugs from the man's mouth and in doing so suffocated him. He's seeking damages for malicious prosecution, loss of income, and punitive damages. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full-mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt explains what happens if the House flips.
If the left control Congress during Trump's last 2 years, we will have nothing but impeachments and inquiries.
Everything will stop.
Everything will
and
stop.
We got to win the Senate, too, or there will not be one judicial appointment. They'll do the full Chuck Schumer shutdown. We won't get one judge anywhere, no matter how many blue slips come in. Nothing.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. And if you are a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then you need to become a business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. Lock in your 2026 marketing now at this incredible price. It really is the best deal in all of Chicago radio. You'll join a long list of businesses who are reaching AM 560's audience of affluent decision makers. And through the generosity of your business, you'll also be helping more than 30 children for a year. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, 847-472-8950. That number, one more time, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join Medi-Share and save even more than usual. For many families, joining Medi-Share means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. More than 1 million people are now part of healthcare sharing because it just makes so much sense, especially right now. And Medi-Share is the gold standard. Members like it a lot. We know this from member surveys. Medi-Share has been around for over 30 years. It is a proven thing. And if you join before December 31st and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee, so you save $100 right right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is December 31st. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select steel tools. Shop online or in store.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still in great shape on the Eden. No major slowdowns. Inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound is 13. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 19 minutes. Outbound is 24. The Eisenhower looks pretty good from the Jane Addams to the old post office, 29 minutes. Outbound is 28. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 17 minutes. Outbound is 15. We are a little bit sluggish on the inbound Bishop Ford as you approach the Dan Ryan. The Dan Ryan Express lanes slow down as you head into the Stevenson. The main roadway from 95th to the Byrne Interchange is 13 minutes. Outbound is 11. This report is a service of Supershore. Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get Supershore. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but Supershore. The seismic shift is coming. Supershore, coming soon. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a brisk breeze, but temperatures won't be as chilly, reaching a high of 25. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with cold conditions as the low drops to 17. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, but not as cold as today with the high of 37. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We mentioned in passing on Open Mic Friday, on this past Friday, but this deserves to be delved into a bit more. Another addition to the culture of death that seems to be the preferred societal norm for the political ruling class in the state. Debs Law. According to Governor Pritzker, Debs Law honors Deb Robertson, a lifelong Illinois resident living with a rare terminal illness, who strongly advocated for the bill and shed light on the impacts on families and individuals struggling with terminal illness as they seek dignity and autonomy to peacefully end their lives on their terms. And that's what prompted him. So he says there was no bill signing, there was no public comment. It was just a quietly done and a statement put out. That's telling. Why not celebrate it? You know, like you celebrate abortion on demand, all 9 months. Plus, taxpayer funded. Medical aid in dying, MAID. At your service is your government to shuffle you out. MAID. Pritzker's written statement, I have been deeply impacted by the stories of Illinoisans or their loved ones that have suffered from a devastating terminal illness, and I have been moved by their dedications to standing up for freedom and choice at the end of life in the midst of personal heartbreak. This legislation will be thoughtfully implemented so that physicians can consult patients on making deeply personal decisions with authority, autonomy, and empathy. They don't do that now? You can't get a physician to consult you on end-of-life care now? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I know this is, everybody's had to deal with a loved one, most everybody of a certain age, deal with a loved one, friend that passed. And sometimes debilitating diseases that, of course, you wouldn't wish on anybody. And it's easy to put yourself in that person's position and say, if I was in his or her position, I wouldn't want to live like that. And this is where Another classic case where I think sentiment overrides reason and saying, yeah, why not? Why not get the state in the business of taking us out? Because the state is so notoriously good at doing things in a measured, humble, efficient, competent, compassionate way. We never see an expansion of state authority. And of course, the people who want to insinuate the state into a new area of power over life and death understand that all of the state's actors come to the table with only altruistic motivations. We're governed by a bunch of philanthropists. Everybody knows that. It's only people not in government that can have ulterior motives, you see. State Representative Bill Howder, we've had on the show. He's a Republican legislator from downstate. He's also a medical doctor. This is his statement. Everything about this bill has been outrageous. From the contempt it shows for the most vulnerable in our society to the shady way in which it was passed in the middle of the night and signed in the middle of the day on Friday with a release statement. No questions. He goes on. This bill is bad for Illinois. It tells the disabled, the poor, the terminally ill, those with a mental health issue that they are a burden and that they have a duty to die. It is ripe for coercion and abuse by unscrupulous actors. Thousands of Illinois physicians represented by the Illinois State Medical Society oppose physician-assisted suicide. Physicians have the primary responsibility to preserve life, to heal, and to relieve suffering. Our ancient oath, which has been passed down for generations, has always contained the phrase, first do no harm. Assisting a patient in killing themselves is fundamentally incompatible with this sacred oath. The bill irrevocably changes the principles, purposes, and practices of medicine in Illinois. So who's right? Dr. Bill, the state legislator, or Jelly Belly, your governor? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Jolene lives in Canada. They've had MAID for some time. She needs a surgery to help her deal with a parathyroid issue, but no doctors in her province can do the surgery, and she can't get transferred to another province for it. So Canada has offered her assisted suicide. It's generous. It's Canadian government. That surgery need, the good news is it's free. The bad news is you can't get it, and we're not sending you to another province for it. But here's your MAID. Your compassionate government commissar to help you exit stage left permanently. Vidette in Michigan, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, Dan. Good morning. That's exactly the point I was saying to your screener. How far are the people of Illinois going to just wake up and realize you're going to become Canada? I mean, the fact that what the government's going to also decide when to give life and when to take life. I mean, I went through the process of my father. He loved life. Unfortunately, he was overdosed by a nurse at a rehab facility. So the point I'm trying to get that people need to wake up in their state, because I'm in Southwest Michigan, is the fact that you're giving way too much control from your government. And I've been through that process of dealing with a loved one. Don't want to wish it upon them, but it's a family decision, it's a personal decision, it's not a government decision. I guess that's my bottom line message to you, and I thank you.
Thanks for the call, Vidette. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It seems to me this is a private matter. Why is the state so interested? This can all be handled privately. You don't have discussions about end-of-life care with your spouse or, parents and kids. You can refuse a treatment that you don't want to get. You can choose palliative care over, everything that's available. DNR orders and the like. Why is the state so interested? Because they care so much about you. Okay. Please go read 1984, since it's become the script for a documentary. Pete in Elburn.
Hey, morning, Dan. You're exactly right. What you just said kind of echoes what I was thinking about. About 10 years ago, I was listening to Dennis Prager, and he said, with the left, always today what is optional in the future will be obligatory. And then COVID happened, and now this. And if you don't think that this is a slippery slope, then you're wrong, because this is going to go to a point where they're going to have that euphemism called mandatory assisted suicide.
Thanks for the call, Pete. 12 states and D.C. allow some form of what is called medical aid in dying, MAID. That acronym is just so apt. Dickensian. It's like the acronym for the government healthcare system in the UK. NICE. Oh, it sure is. 12 states and D.C. New York is facing the same legislation. Kathy Hochul has yet to make a decision. The assisted suicide slippery slope is the increased risk to the physically or mentally disabled. A executive director for the Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled. It's the people who are vulnerable who end up as the target of bills like this. People like her, that is. Sharon Shapiro-Lax came to protest the bill in New York in her wheelchair. She requires help to get through the day and fears that this bill, if enacted, would make New Yorkers forget that a life is a life. The record of U.S. jurisdictions where assisted suicide is already legal provides plenty of reason to worry. There's another source of concern beyond our borders. Since we mentioned it, Canada long ago abandoned the terminal illness requirement for requesting assisted suicide. Now a range of illnesses and conditions can justify a request for lethal treatment. There have already been many cases of people requesting and receiving assisted suicide even though their conditions are treatable. There's some evidence that some have done so without a full understanding of what they were doing, possibly under pressure from care providers. Assisted suicide is now the 5th leading cause of death in Canada, according to a think tank there. Jeff in Cal City.
Hi, good morning, Dan. I thought the left was against the death penalty. I mean, how do they get around it with this assisted suicide? How is assisted suicide okay, but the death penalty not? And what about the people who participate in death penalty cases and people on death row? They don't allow doctors or nurses or EMTs to put these people to death because it goes against their oath, but now they can do it for assisted suicide?
Well, I mean, the argument would be, well, this is their choice, and this is the choice they want to make. So they're exercising their autonomy. I mean, that would separate it from the state making the decision for somebody else who had committed a capital crime, whether or not they live or die, right?
I guess. I mean, is there going to be a point where a sharp lawyer, gets a hold of somebody who killed their loved one, whether it's a brother, a father, or a spouse, and they say, oh, well, you didn't really kill them, it was just assisted suicide?
Thanks for the call, Jeff. Mark, Oak Lawn.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. It's all about control. The more that they can tell you that you're weak and that you're expendable, And you know, you think about COVID, they lied to us then, and really, I'm sad that the Catholic Church, they should be really speaking up about this. And, you know, suffering is something that's redemptive, Dan.
Yeah.
You know, that's how Christ died on a cross, and we're supposed to suffer too, and we're going to carry our cross. But it's another denial of our faith. You know, they're trying to tell you that they really want a one religion church. You know, they really don't want a Catholic church. But the problem is the Catholics, the Supages of the world, they never speak out about anything. It's all about money and corruption.
Thanks for the call, Mark. Well, Supich and others have spoken out in opposition to this legislation. But, I mean, it's not like they've spent a lot of political capital on it. They just sort of said, you know, this is no good. Others, though, I mean, some actual intellectual leaders within the Catholic Church have spoken more eloquently, like Bishop Robert Barron, who had this to say on laws like Pritzker signed and possibly Hochul in New York will.
Hello, everybody. This is Bishop Barron. I want to speak out as strongly as I can against a measure that I think is really shameful that's just been passed in my home state of Illinois. They'll call it a bill about assisted suicide. That's just a diversion. I mean, what we're talking about is a direct killing of the sick and the elderly, now officially sponsored by the state. They'll frame it, of course, in the context of choice and honoring people's choice. Everybody, please don't be bamboozled by this tactic, which has been used by the pro-abortionists, you know, for decades. My choice, freedom of choice, etc. What's morally relevant is not choice in itself. What's morally relevant is what we're choosing. What's the object of your choice? Are you pro-choice? My answer is, well, I don't know. What are you choosing? In the case of abortion, you're choosing something which is morally repugnant. And in the case of this law, you're choosing something morally repugnant, which is the direct killing of the sick and the elderly. When I was in California years ago, this measure came before the state legislature, and there was a billboard that went up, and it said, "My life, my death, my choice." Can I suggest that's a motto of the culture of death? The Bible would say, whether we live or we die, we are the Lord's. Our life doesn't belong to us. It's a gift from God. Our death is not a matter of our choice. That's a matter of God's decision. Can I ask all biblically minded people, and we're still an extraordinary majority of our country, biblically shaped people, to rise up against this latest instantiation of the culture of death? You know, you say, well, I can't make a religious argument in public. Sure you can. Last time I checked, we have freedom of religion in our country, which means the free exercise of our religion, which means you can come into the public forum and make a religious argument. We who are shaped by a biblical consciousness should not remain privatized. We should not remain on the sidelines. We should come forth and make as bold an argument as we can. You know, another thing you'll see, of course, in this context, they'll say, oh, no, we've got all kinds of strict limitations in place. It's only people that, 2 physicians have said you're within 6 months of your death, etc. Don't you believe it? Look where this stuff is passed in Europe, but go right over our northern border in Canada, where these laws have passed. They all started that way, but we are on a very, very slippery slope. Before you know it, maybe within a year of your death. Maybe if you're just somewhat in danger of death. Maybe you're not in danger of death, but there's a very serious illness. Maybe not a super serious illness, but one that's really bothering you. Now, not just something that's physically a problem, if there's a psychological problem. Before you know it, for any reason whatsoever, we can ask the state to intervene to allow us to commit this crime. The same thing happened with abortion. I'm old enough to remember. This is back in the day when Ted Kennedy was pro-life, when Jesse Jackson was pro-life. And when they first started, it was, only in the 3rd trimester and only in the most extreme cases. Again, don't believe it. Now, abortion on demand for any reason whatsoever. Friends, we got to stand up when the culture of death is asserting itself, and it's doing it all the time. And this is a very vivid example. I just heard this morning in my current home state of Minnesota, they're now going to be making this proposal. Of course. But we have to fight it. We have to stand up in a public and bold and confident way and speak out against this culture of death. And God bless all of you.
There's an essay in First Things by Louise Perry called Repaganizing. It's one of the best reviews of our culture I've read in a long time. I'll post it on X too, but you should check it out. It I won't get too deep in the weeds here, but she does raise the specter of MAID. She offers this. When it was first introduced in 2016, the Canadian Medical Assistance in Dying Program, MAID, which is what Illinois is modeled after, offered medically assisted suicide only to those patients whose deaths were foreseeable. But now MAID will be made available to the disabled and those suffering mental illness. Disturbing reports out of Canada suggest that the poor and the disabled are already under pressure to make use of this service. And depressed teenagers are eager to see it extended to so-called mature minors, as some euthanasia lobbyists propose. Journalists have uncovered numerous examples of acutely distressed people applying for MAID because they have been denied health care or welfare support from the state. For example, Jennifer Hatch, 37 years old, was euthanized in October of 2022, having given up hope of resolving the chronic pain caused by Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. She told friends she was, quote-unquote, falling through the cracks, unable to access the state support she needed in order to go on living. Her desperate choice to die was glorified in a glossy TV commercial titled All is Beauty, produced by a Canadian fashion retailer. Last breaths are sacred, says Hatch in the commercial, released on the day after her death. The legalization of infanticide will come. Bill in Monticello, Indiana.
Actually, I'm still in Burr Ridge, so forgive me for that. Anyway,
Okay.
Dan,
All right.
I don't see what the problem is. Didn't Emmanuel said we should all do our bit for society and die at age 75?
Yeah, he sure did. We'll see how Zeke feels when he gets to 75. He's not far away. Joe in Arlington Heights.
Good morning. Pope Leo has been on the record with negative comments about a president of the United States, but he openly meets with Pritzker. Did they discuss the legalization of drugs or open borders or gender dysphoria mutilation or abortion anytime or gambling or gay marriage or DEI falsities? Now maybe assisted suicide. Maybe he's just giving Pope Leo an update on their success. I'm just so disgusted with the leadership of the church. I could burst.
Thanks for the call, Joe. All right, coming up at 7:07, we will return our attention in part to the massacre in Australia, the killing of 2 American National Guardsmen and a civilian interpreter in Syria, to the talk of radical Islamist terrorism. That discussion will lean on the expertise of Stephen Bucci for our weekly conversation. That's 7:07. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
This is a Fox News alert. A Hollywood legend stabbed to death in his home. I'm Dave Anthony. Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, both found dead at home in Los Angeles. And while police did not confirm that and won't say they're searching for a suspect, the Reiner family announced their deaths.
There are also some reports that among those being questioned is the Reiner's 32-year-old son, Nick. He has been open in the past about his mental health issues and his struggles with drug addiction.
Fox's Jonathan Hunt in L.A. Rob Reiner was 78. He first gained fame-winning Emmys as Meathead on TV's All in the Family in the 1970s. Then he became a famous director of movies, from Stand By Me to When Harry Met Sally and Misery to A Few Good Men.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You
can't handle the truth.
Reiner's last movie, a Spinal Tap sequel, just came out. The search for the gunman in Saturday's Brown University mass shooting is back on in Providence, Rhode Island.
Police admitted that the person of interest they detained yesterday morning at the hotel is not the person that is seen leaving the scene of the shooting. The AG said while there was some evidence that justified detaining this person of interest, recent evidence and lab testing is pointing them in a different direction.
That's Fox's Brian Yennis. Thousands of wreaths have been laid in Australia near the scene of an even bigger mass shooting yesterday, targeting Jews at the start of Hanukkah.
A father and son terror team turned up and attacked the Jewish community here at Bondi Beach. It's the sort of place where most Australians know or go to on their holidays. We're a coastal community. We're talking about more than 42 being taken to hospital with 15 fatalities. A 10-year-old girl who was at a petting zoo by the name of Matilda, she was mowed down. We had 2 rabbis who have also been killed, and a Holocaust survivor was also murdered here in this spree.
Sky News' Jonathan Lee. The older gunman was killed by police's son, disarmed by a bystander, being called a hero. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 9 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. We'll see partly sunny skies today. Breezy, though. Highs reaching only 27 degrees, so bundle up. A Democratic state lawmaker looks forward to Governor J.B. Pritzker signing mass transit legislation, but a Republican State House candidate says Senate Bill 2111 is a Chicago bailout. Jim Talamonte reports.
State Rep Barbara Hernandez said she was in the House working group and the legislation is fair to suburbanites who expressed concerns.
Of course, the funding portion was a big component of it, and I think we did a great job. That didn't impact families as much as it could have.
Ajay Gupta is a Republican candidate for the Illinois House seat currently held by Janet Yang Rohr. Gupta said the bill was a terrible idea, especially for his district in DuPage and Will counties.
Voices there are being sidelined, and consumers there are being asked to bail out a failing Chicago system.
The transit package raises tolls on Illinois tollways, takes gas tax money from the state's road fund, and allows the Regional Transportation Authority to raise sales taxes by 0.25% in Chicago area counties.
A 14-year-old was shot in the foot early Sunday morning. According to reports, that teen was walking in the Roselawn neighborhood around 4 a.m. on Sunday when he was shot. There are no suspects in custody. And a man has been arrested for breaking into a Downers Grove high school last week. According to reports, 56-year-old Dion McLaughlin is being held on 1 count of aggravated attempted robbery and 1 count of aggravated battery to a school employee. McLaughlin is due back in court in early January. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2026? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it?
This is what Christmas is all about.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th. You can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Nice. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Well, that was a surprise. The HVAC tech just said our furnace apparently has a cracked heat exchanger, and it'll cost thousands.
Oh, you're kidding. He barely looked at it. Now he's pushing a huge repair? What should we do?
I don't really trust them. We need a second opinion. My brother Mark recommended Air Right Heating and Cooling. I looked them up and they seem legit. Great Google reviews. I'm sure they'd give us an honest assessment. He liked that they checked their carbon monoxide readings so he knows the air they're breathing is safe. And I guess it also gave a sense of how much life was left in their furnace.
I'd love that peace of mind. Plus, why spend a fortune on something we might not even need?
Get a second opinion from Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you and get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling right now at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Are you living with dry AMD?
If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote by calling Term Provider at 800-555-2085. 800-555-2085. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-555-2085 or visit termprovider.com. Termprovider.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still doing really good on the Eden, both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 15 minutes. The Kennedy is 24 minutes in both directions from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange. The Eisenhower inbound from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office, 33 minutes. Outbound is 32. Not too bad on the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 21 minutes. Outbound is 17. It is a little bit sluggish on the Dan Ryan Express lanes approaching the Stevenson, and the local lanes from 95th to the Byrne Interchange is 16 minutes. Outbound is 11, and starting to get busy northbound on Lakeshore Drive heading into Hollywood Avenue. This report is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a brisk breeze, but temperatures won't be as chilly, reaching a high of 25. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with cold conditions as the low drops to 17. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, but not as cold as today with the high of 37. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Over the weekend, 3 Americans were killed and 3 wounded by an ISIS terrorist in Syria. 2 National Guardsmen from Iowa and a civilian interpreter. And then, of course, 16 killed and some 40 injured in a terrorist attack on a Hanukkah celebration on Bondi Beach in Australia. On Friday, German police arrested 5 men, 3 Moroccans, a Syrian, and an Egyptian, on suspicion of planning an attack on a Christmas market. That same night, a Jewish home in Redlands, California was shot up. The ADL, who is in touch with the victim, said that a suspect shouted anti-Semitic slurs and fired 20 rounds into the home, which was clearly decorated with Hanukkah decorations. So we're reverting to a post 9/11 world in which we have disparate radical Islamist state sponsors, terrorist organizations, radicalized quote-unquote lone wolves focused on terrorizing the law-abiding in the West, with a specific but not limited focus on Jewish people. And this against the backdrop of 4 years of open borders, and as we mentioned earlier in the program, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, recently saying that her office has identified upwards of 18,000 individuals in this country illegally with ties to terrorist organizations. Well, I shouldn't even necessarily say in this country illegally, just ties to terrorist organizations. They could be technically in this country legally when you have Joe Biden, for example, confer legal status to 100,000 Afghan asylum seekers, right? So we've completely, some of us, not we the collective, but some of us have completely forgotten our carefree attitude towards radical Islamist terrorism that led up to 9/11, or even that led up to the first World Trade Center bombing. It has receded that far in our memories that we don't understand the ever-present threat. We weren't paying attention for the last 2 years with what was going on in Gaza after the October 7th terrorist attack. Somewhat remarkable, isn't it? Our lack of vigilance. For more on this, Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thanks for joining us for our weekly chat.
It's good to be on the show. Unfortunately, the subjects are pretty disheartening.
Yeah. There was a report in the Daily Mail that suggests that terrorist attack in Australia conducted by that father and son terrorist tandem could have been the handiwork of the terrorists in charge of Iran. Israeli intelligence services identified Tehran as the prime suspect behind the Bondi Beach terror attack that killed 16, including a 10-year-old girl, including an 87-year-old Holocaust survivor. The attack, according to Israeli intel, appeared sophisticated and well-planned with the hallmarks of Unit 910, Hezbollah's external operations arm. There's also speculation about links to Hamas and the Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is interesting because, of course, the two terrorists, father and son, were of Pakistani extraction, the father having come on a student visa to Australia in 1998. And it goes on to say, in August of 2025, Australia expelled Iran's ambassador over allegations he directed attacks against Jewish targets in Sydney and Melbourne, including December 2024 synagogue firebombing in Melbourne and an October 2024 cafe arson in Sydney. And that this is consistent with what you would see, given that, according to another Israeli intel expert, Australia has long been known to be a hub for Hezbollah, so it could be a joint operation between Hezbollah and Quds. So, I mean, just given that, I know we can't say probably definitively at this time, but, give us your reaction to the intel reporting, including the intel that suggested Israel tried to communicate with Australia about the possibility of a terrorist attack, and apparently that warning went unheeded. Just sort of what we know, what you think this looks like, what the United States' posture should be.
Well, first of all, it's sad that we return to this idea that was, the Clinton administration saying that, terrorists, we just need to leave it to the police. We don't need to do any extra measures. If it happens, we'll do an investigation. We'll apprehend them, and they'll get, a long, lengthy trial, and because that's the better way to do it, as opposed to a war footing type response where you realize that the other side is trying to kill you. They're not trying to steal your watch or anything else. They're there to kill you and kill as many of you as possible, where you need to take a different attitude towards that adversary. Look, this does look like it's coordinated. At the very least, on the great, terrorist chat networks that are out there, where there's a lot of loosely aligned people, not necessarily getting taskings from somebody. So I don't think there's one mastermind of this whole thing, but there's clearly people that were planting seeds, that were leveraging the growing support for people like Hamas and Hezbollah around the world, the growing ire against Israel and against the United States. Anybody who's surprised by this is full of themselves. They really are lying through their teeth. This is exactly what the left wants. This is exactly what the Islamists want, was a return to that very open, very tolerant attitude that we had prior to 9/11. Look, I don't like having to be on a war footing forever either. But when the other side hasn't given up yet, as is the case with the war on terror, people don't like that. They think that's a passé term, but it's not, because the other side is still fighting it. We have to respond exactly the right way. We should be listening to Israel's intel, and we should always at least consider it, if not act on it almost preemptively when you get it. The Australians have done a lot of delusional things in the last few years, right? They got rid of all their weapons in the country. So now no good guys have weapons. And their police apparently were hiding behind the cars in some cases.
Yes.
While a civilian went up and disarmed somebody and took a couple of shots doing it. Look, again, this doesn't mean every Muslim in the world is a criminal or a terrorist. But what was that number? 18,000 the Attorney General thinks are inside the United States that are
DNI, Gabbard, yeah.
Or Gabbard, the DNI, are living here. That's a lot of folks, 18,000. And that's like, bigger than a division in the Army. We have a 2-star general in charge of that size force. We got to do something. Sorry for the long answer, but this is just really irritating, the vapid response we get from over half of our leadership and electorate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a concerted effort to try to, memory hole this or sanitize it as much as possible, because of course, and to the extent that anybody wants to have a serious conversation of it, you'll just be slimed as a Islamophobe or something like that. So we don't have to be adult about these matters, because that's just the posture of maybe not half the country, but a disturbingly high percentage of it. There's no question. The seizure of an Iranian tanker en route to Cuba over the weekend. This is more, Trump neo-Monroe doctrine kind of activity, clearly. But if the Iranians are amping up attacks like the one that was committed on Bondi Beach, what should we be preparing for in response to this ratcheting up of pressure on Maduro and his allies in our hemisphere?
Well, hopefully we'll continue the pressure. Maduro has a very close relationship with the Iranians, as well as with Hezbollah, and I think Hamas as well, but definitely Hezbollah. And we need to keep the pressure there. We need to keep the pressure on Iran. We can't depend solely on the Israelis to protect us from these folks. We're going to have to take some steps too. Again, not advocating for war against these people, but, we've seen that when the good guys turn around and say enough and bloody the nose of these countries, they back down. They're honestly cowards. They don't want to stand up fight because they know they'll lose. They want to keep doing this deniable terrorism.
It was a bizarre scene. I mean, it's almost something like out of a Richard Dreyfuss movie. I don't know if you saw it. I'm thinking Moon over Parador. But it was Maduro having a rally where he played Bobby McFerrin's Don't Worry, Be Happy, and he was prancing around on stage, mouthing the words to Don't Worry, Be Happy. It's just so surreal because while that's going on in Caracas, Maria Corina Machado, who plans on returning to Venezuela from her sojourn in Denmark, she had this to say, much to the chagrin of Margie Brennan on Face the Nation yesterday, about what Trump is doing and the exact nature of the regime you're dealing with in Venezuela. And her perspective on the regime, I think, is important. Take a listen.
Look, I absolutely support President Trump's strategy, and we, the Venezuelan people, are very grateful to him and to his administration, because I believe he is a champion of freedom in this hemisphere. And that's why, and I say this from Oslo right now, I have dedicated this award to him, because I think that he finally has put Venezuela in where it should be in terms of a priority for the United States national security. And we do support these actions because, Margaret, we are facing not a conventional dictatorship. This is a very complex criminal structure that has turned Venezuela into the safe haven of international crime and terrorist activities, starting with Russia, Iran, Cuba, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Colombian guerrilla, the drug cartels operating freely and directed in partnership with Maduro and his regime. And as every criminal structure suffers is when the inflows from their criminal activities are cut. Mm-hmm. And this, in the case of the Maduro regime, comes from the oil black market, the drug trafficking, gold smuggling, arms smuggling, even human smuggling and trafficking.
I guess she was in Norway, not Denmark, but regardless, what she had to say about the regime there and that terrorist piece of it seems to me really critical. There's been an overemphasis on the narco trafficking because it's a narco state, but the connections to radical Islamist terrorism need renewed scrutiny and discussion given what's happened over the weekend, don't they?
Oh, 100%. And look, most of us that watch this, never let that part of it disappear. Though the media, for the most part, has, made it look like it's just Trump picking on these poor fishermen that are forced into drug trafficking, as opposed to the idea that they're just soldiers in a narco-terrorist army, really, that is completely state-sponsored. Most of these folks around the world have some sort of state support somewhere, but in Maduro's case, it's over the top. If we're going to sit there and, one, listen to women, and two, listen to peace candidates and people like that, maybe the left should listen to this lady. And frankly, the right, who got upset that she got the Peace Prize, not President Trump, it's like, no, this lady knows that without President Trump taking the actions he's taking, she'd be in deep water here trying to survive. And why not listen to this woman? She knows what's going on inside her country. I don't think it's a campaign ploy. I mean, this is real stuff. People's lives are at stake, not just in Venezuela, but around the world and in the United States, because this is a concerted effort to continue tearing down our social structure and to pit us against each other. But the left has got to give up this bizarre thing of, if Trump is any way involved in it, it's got to be bad. They need to grow up. I don't care whether you dislike him. I don't care whether you dislike his style. If what he's doing is correct, we need to support him. And frankly, he's been right more than he's been wrong.
Well, I mean, some good news out of South America over the weekend, too, which is that a free market oriented guy defeated the socialist guy for the president of Chile. So we're getting some reinforcements when it comes to free minds and free markets in Latin America. I mean, in Latin and South America, at least some people who will join the fight with people like Milei in Argentina.
Mm-hmm. Well, but they need to keep a watch, because if you look at what's happened in Europe, everybody that's not a centrist or a leftist party, they are completely tarred as radical right wing, fascists and Nazis and everything else. They go after their posts on social media. They go after the individuals. Anybody who wants to champion their own national heritage, they're bad guys and need to be silenced. This is an international effort. And look, I'm not a conspiracy theory guy at all. Usually you can attribute things to really bad intent or incompetence that most people like to try and put on conspiracies. But this is clearly an effort across the board between the left and the Islamists to really turn back what President Trump has begun as far as reforming America and aiding other countries in reforming themselves across the world. It's scaring the heck out of the leftists that are out there, and they're fighting back.
He is Stephen Bucci. Served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen Bucci, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and we'll talk to you next week.
Great. And Steve joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do. It's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment, so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you.
Let me tell you about a proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer, Access One IT Services and Support. Chicago business owners, listen up. Your phone, internet, and IT should work well 24/7. When it doesn't, who do you call? An overseas help desk? Don't do that. If you want clear and reliable local experts, consider Chicago's best, Access One. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years from their headquarters in the West Loop. Whether it's voice over IP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One has you covered. Access One is Chicago-owned, Chicago-run, and serves thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore and everywhere in between. They're rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and trusted by law firms, clinics, tech startups, and manufacturers. If you're in business, make sure your IT works well every day. Start a conversation about your business needs today by calling Access One at 1-800-654-1555. That number again, 800-654-1555, or visit them at accessoneinc.com. That's Access One, the number spelled, accessoneinc.com, and tell them AM560 sent you.
Hello? Sir, this is Officer Peterson. There's been a string of break-ins in the area, and your office, it was hit.
Hit? What do you mean? We were robbed?
Looks like the back door lock was easily pried open, and they moved through the building like they knew exactly what to take. We see wires everywhere. No computers.
What? No computers? I just upgraded everything.
Looks like they moved fast. We only found out because a neighboring business had their alarm go off. Do you have any security cameras?
No.
Nothing.
Don't wait until it's too late. Goldilocks protects Chicagoland businesses with custom security solutions. From reinforced commercial doors with keyless entry to cameras and 24/7 monitoring that alerts authorities immediately. Schedule a free on-site assessment at GoldilocksInc.com. Again, that's GoldilocksInc.com. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicago's premier locksmith, doors, and security systems company since 1981.
The biggest time of the year for stores is during the Christmas season. And if you deal in collector coins, the main source for inventory is from people like you. We want to have our showcases fully stocked before Christmas. Last Christmas, gold was the highest ever recorded in its 5,000-year run. We don't always know if precious metals will go up or down. We're saying that if you don't appreciate that collection Grandpa left, you may want to at least find out what you can get for it. Fox Valley Coins is the trusted place where people come to buy and sell their precious metals, rare coins, and paper money. We're especially interested in purchasing now through the first week of December. And we'll still be buying after we get back from the Christmas break, but we need to purchase now. Fox Valley Coins is located 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 on the Naperville-Warrenville border. We'll be closed Christmas Eve through Monday, January 4th, celebrating Jesus' birth with family and for year-end inventory. Merry Christmas from Fox Valley Coins. Family-owned integrity since 1981. FoxValleyCoins.com.
AM 560.
The
answer. We have to have a little bit of positivity, something to uplift this morning amid these dreary topics. How about Fernando Mendoza? I really like this kid. The Indiana quarterback who won the Heisman Trophy Saturday night.
But my family's unconditional love and belief kept me going and pushed me forward. These are the people who built me long before football did. Mommy, this is your trophy as much as it is mine. You've always been my biggest fan. You're my light. You're my why. You're my biggest supporter. Your sacrifices, courage, love, those have been my first playbook and the playbook that I'm going to carry through my side through my entire life. You taught me that toughness doesn't need to be loud. It can be quiet and strong. It's choosing hope. It's believing in yourself when the world doesn't give you much reason to. Together, you and I are rewriting what people think is possible. I love you.
Yeah, it was well done. I mean, he's a special young man, and actually, that the kid from Vanderbilt too. Great story. I liked when Mendoza and Pavia is the same story. So, you know, for all the kids that are overlooked out there, that nobody thinks can accomplish anything, nobody thinks can play Division I football. For in this case, I'm that guy. I'm you. I thought it was really good. So go Hoosiers. Wouldn't it be fun to see Indiana win the national championship? Playoffs coming up. But coming up at 7:37, we'll talk to former ICE Director Ron Vitiello about, border security, mass invitation for migration, and this continued nagging problem with illegal immigrants getting CDL licenses and creating mayhem on the roads on America's roads. Ron Vitiello, 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is just 9 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Chicago City Council will begin a series of meetings today in hopes of coming to a resolution regarding the city's budget. With the December 31st deadline looming, Alderman and Mayor Brandon Johnson have been at an impasse regarding a budget for the city. The budget must be passed by December 31st or the city will face a government shutdown. And convicted former ComEd CEO Ann Pramaggiore has joined former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan in requesting clemency from President Donald Trump's pardon attorney. The Chicago Tribune is reporting that she's been paying lobbyists in Washington, D.C. to explore, quote, matters relevant to the pardon process. Pramaggiore is scheduled to begin serving a 2-year prison sentence January 12th for her role in a scheme to bribe Madigan. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
This December could be one that you'll always remember if you enter the Roland's Jewelers 12 Days of Christmas contest.
You could win a $200 gift card from Roland's Jewelers in Libertyville.
We're drawing 12 winners throughout the month of December, and you could be one of them. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/gift. That's 560theanswer.com/gift.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker, and I'm here with
Amy Jacobson
from Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker and Amy Jacobson here on AM 560 The Answer. Now, I'm a financial advisor, and Amy's the co-host for our program. You know, Amy, recently President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. A lot of folks aren't realizing, Amy, that if they have highly appreciated assets, they can potentially tax defer the capital gains tax, place that money into a qualified opportunity fund, and then 10 years from now, get back out of that investment and pay no capital gains tax on either investment. Have you heard of such a thing, Amy?
I did not know about that. That seemed to be hidden in the bill.
It's only 900 some pages.
Yeah,
we have to pass it to see what's in it.
An easy beach read, yes.
Yes. And now there's another thing in the bill as well, Amy. Section 1202. Amy, did you read Section 1202?
I did not, but thank you for the homework assignment.
If you're a small business owner, many small business owners can now sell their small business and potentially pay no federal capital gains taxes on that capital gain of selling their business.
Wow.
If you'd like to get a free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Text the keyword book. That's BOOK to 224-496-3999. Text the keyword book to 224-496-3999. In addition to a free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? You'll also get our entire Retirement Decoded toolkit. We'll also give you the opportunity to talk to us 15 minutes for free over the telephone at another time so we can go through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act with you, show you how to potentially sell your highly appreciated assets and pay no federal capital gains tax, how qualified opportunity funds work, and also if you're a small business owner, how to potentially pay no capital gains on the sale of your small business through Section 1202, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Text book to 224-496-3999 or call that very same number, 224-496-3999.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm does not offer tax advice.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select steel tools. Shop online or in store.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. The Eden still looks good both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. Inbound is 16 minutes, outbound is 15. The Kennedy inbound, not too bad from O'Hare to the Byrne interchange, 28 minutes, outbound is 29. The express lane starting to get slow though into Ohio Street. The Eisenhower inbound from the Jane Addams to the old post office is 35 minutes, outbound is 32. The Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 24 minutes, outbound is 18. It is stop and go on the Bishop Ford inbound between Cottage Grove Avenue and the Dan Ryan. The Dan Ryan Express a little bit sluggish heading into the Stevenson. On the main roadway from 95th to the Byrne interchange is 17 minutes, outbound is 11. This report is a service of Super Sure. Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get Super Sure. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but Super Sure. The seismic shift is coming. Super Sure, coming soon. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a mix of clouds and sun with a noticeable breeze, but temperatures won't be as chilly, reaching a high of 25. Tonight will be mainly clear with cold conditions as the low drops to 17. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy skies, but it will be milder than today with a high of 37. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, Field Marshal Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, yeah, seriously, feeling a little pressure given the massive fraud committed against Minnesota and American taxpayers by essentially, how else to describe it, rings of Somali fraudsters. At least some may be American citizens, but of Somali extraction. So he addressed, and not to mention, he's also feeling heat from within his own state government. Again, that open letter that a couple of hundred state employees in the Human Services Department, the state of Minnesota, wrote, basically saying the reason that we couldn't interdict this fraud is because Tim Walz was willfully blind to it. He punished and sidelined whistleblowers and just would refuse to engage on the topic. So it wasn't like it was going unnoticed by everyone in Minnesota state government. You wouldn't think so. Fraud at that level where you're extracting a billion or billions, plural, of dollars. We heard from a TSA whistleblower that Liz Collin, the documentarian and former news anchor up there interviewed, of people, it was for 5 years she was there and she would watch always the same MO. 2 Somali men, bags of cash, millions of dollars allowed to go through. In one instance, a bag of passports, ostensibly counterfeit passports, allowed to go through. What's going on there? Well, Tim Walz is on the job, and of course, when I say on the job, he is going to play the race hustle to deflect attention away from his incompetence, maliciousness, combination of the two. Difficult to say.
Look, it's not law-abiding citizens. If that were the case, there's a lot of white men should be holding a lot of white men accountable for the crimes that they have committed. I think for the community to maybe educate their population, because I think what you're seeing here is there's secondary victims in this, that there's providers inside the community that are then victimizing the community themselves by signing them up, because when we're going to some of these people, they're like, I had no idea I was in this program. So I think it's asking us then, for every crime, which of course the majority being committed by white men, asking us to do more about that. I think it's crime in general. And I think the biggest thing on this is just making sure that we're educating the population. And again, this is 80 people or so that have been convicted in this, maybe some more in that, out of a broader ring. Medicaid fraud will stretch across all racial demographics, all ethnic groups. So I think it's really important for us to note each community's got this in their own midst, but to blame them and say that they should have been responsible for stopping it, I think that's a pretty hard reach. I think we continue to educate folks about why they shouldn't commit crimes. You would hope that it's being taught both at home and at schools and in our society. But no, I think this idea that the Somali community's to blame for this because they didn't do more, I think that's how we got into this. And that's, again, I know we're not going to lose the whole plot here. All this work that's being done, Donald Trump brought this to the attention like this is something brand new. This is not brand new, and it's been being worked on, but he made it white hot and very dangerous.
Bringing attention to this is dangerous, not the underlying criminal acts, right? By the way, we're not blaming the 100,000 Somalians, people of Somali extraction in this country. The Somali diaspora. We're blaming you. You're the governor. Don't go dare blaming the community writ large. We're not blaming the community writ large. We're blaming you and your buddy Biden and the fraudsters and those who run interference for the fraudsters. and maybe receive campaign donations from the fraudsters, Keith Ellison, Ilhan Omar. Don't go blaming the community. Yeah, real skillful deflection there. Tim? Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief for Policy, responding to Walls.
Well, he's right about one thing. It's not brand new. The Somali community has been engaged in massive, endemic, systematic fraud against the American taxpayer for years. We're going to discover ultimately, and we are in the throes right now of a full-throated, all-hands-on-deck federal investigation, is that the scope, scale, size, and sheer magnitude of the fraud eclipses anybody's worst nightmare. Look, according to official government records, 90% of Somali households with children are on federal welfare. The real number is probably 100% because federal records always undercount. So you're talking about a population that has been imported into Minnesota in which virtually every single member of that population is receiving welfare from the federal government. This could very well end up, Laura, being the greatest financial fraud scandal in American history.
For more on this, please be joined by Ronald Vitiello, Senior Advisor for DHS and CBP, Office of the Commissioner, former Chief of U.S. Border Patrol and Deputy Commissioner and retired Acting Director at ICE. Ron, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for inviting me.
It's sort of two communities sort of mass migration that were, granted sweeping legal access to America and concentrated themselves in communities like Minneapolis. The Somalis that we're talking about in these fraud rings, potentially with some of the money getting overseas to terrorist organizations located in Somalia, including Al-Shabaab. And then the Afghan community, of which we've heard recently from DNI Gabbard, 18,000 people in this country with ties to terrorism, and of that, there's a 2,000 person subset, according to their estimates, of Afghan asylees, again, mass parole granted by Biden, 2,000 Afghan asylees with ties to terrorism. So this is, it's one of those things we're trying to emphasize here. This has to be done on an individualized basis, because when you do it in mass like it has been done, and you talk about vetting that clearly it either didn't happen or is ineffectual, you are opening the doors to all kinds of illicit activity and illicit actors preying on American people and perhaps other immigrants as well.
100%. This is the threat and the real risk that we all face from an immigration system that lacks integrity under Democratic leadership, including Joe Biden and the last administration, and an open border, effectively encouraging anybody with enough energy to make it to the southwest border. They just walk in. The government itself said that they weren't going to look for people who were in the country illegally, even though they broke the law. And we went from 4 years of millions of people being encountered by the men and women of the front line, and then probably millions more who came in and no one saw, no one was apprehended. And as an example, concentrated efforts in the Minneapolis area for the 2 days last week, 2.5 days worth of operations. They arrested 80 people from Somalia who are out of status in that community. And so these risks are real. They're not just related to what happens in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but we all saw the threat brought to us from Venezuela with this vicious gang, Tren de Aragua, which we continue to arrest at record numbers in the interior. They were only here during the pendency of the Biden administration, and they wreaked havoc in major cities all over the country.
Another cohort, and I'm not saying this is exclusively Indian nationals, but we're seeing a lot of anecdotal evidence about this being a particular area of interest for Indian nationals. These fraudulent CDL licenses. We just had reporting from Bill Malugin over at Fox. 25-year-old Indian national arrested by Border Patrol in Lukeville, Arizona, after crossing illegally on December 24th of 2023 was released into the United States by the Biden administration. He's now facing charges for vehicular homicide after he crashed into the back of a vehicle on an expressway in Washington State, crushing it between another truck and killing a 29-year-old man. ICE has placed a detainer with him with local law enforcement in Kings County, Washington. Of course, that won't be honored. Sanctuary city, county, state, just like Illinois, just like California, New York, and so on and so forth. And Duffy, Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary, just issued another letter. New York State, the 8th state to have been found to systematically be issuing fraudulent CDL licenses. And in New York State, to my point about it's not exclusively Indian nationals, but there's been a number of incidents. A Tennessee truck driver is dead after Chinese national, not proficient in English, and who has a non-domiciled New York commercial driver's license, crashed a tour bus. I mean, so it's another source of lawlessness and danger for the otherwise law-abiding in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. The risks in that area are also very real, real consequences to men and women who live in the United States and follow the rules and work hard and travel our highways. And you have these blue state politicians and these blue states with policies that endanger the rest of us by giving people who insufficiently speak English, were undervetted when they came across the border, and are on, and are given license to drive these big rigs all over the country. It's a real problem. We do have the silver lining here is that whole of government is dedicated to trying to solve this problem. CBP has done a great job with the leadership of President Trump at the White House, securing the border in ways that I've never seen, frankly, in 40 years. The border is safer now than it's ever been in my lifetime, for sure. And that's going to continue. That's going to increase. The capabilities at the border will be coming forward with the money that came in the reconciliation. More border wall, more frontline personnel, both at CBP and at ICE. So that will continue. Operations in the interior will continue, thereby preventing some of these crimes from occurring, finding those that are criminals who are also in the country illegally, and putting them on a path for removal.
That's where I was gonna go next. Actually, I mean, your grade for the Trump administration's work to secure the border, you just explained. How would you assess the job they've done? And it's a massive one, and it's a complicated one. We all stipulate the job they've done with respect to enforcement and removal operations. Is there anything that you've seen that you say, well, they could have used a lighter touch here, or they could have zigged here when they zagged? Anything that you see that troubles you?
Operationally, I do not. I do think that the challenges are in the courts with these judges who are more activists than they are judges, trying to prevent lawful law enforcement operations or trying to restrict them in a way that is hindering the great work that the front line is doing. More to come, more capability, again, coming forward. There's going to be 10,000 net new frontline personnel at ICE to do this work. They are scaling up detention resources so that they have places to put people on the path for removal and hold them in custody until those removals occur. We heard last week about, the aviation purchases that they're making, so they increase capabilities across the board, as we will at the border itself.
Are you encouraged by some movement? And now this is not just rhetorical, but Alexander Dobrindt, I'm talking about movement in Europe. He is Chancellor Merz's interior minister in Germany. And he has deployed 3,000 additional federal police officers to Germany's borders to reduce illegal crossings. He sent a letter to the head of federal police rescinding a verbal directive from September of 2015 in which Angela Merkel, who was, took the same open borders approach that all these heads of state in Europe, Western Europe have taken, prevented border officers from turning back any illegal migrants who simply uttered the word asylum, much like we had with the Biden administration. It seems that at least there's some movement in the direction of of state sovereignty and border control within some Western European countries. And it's sort of important not only for the sovereignty of their country, but also for the optics to say, look, this is a move that is happening in countries that want to really provide for the public safety of their citizens. It's not just America. So, take a look around, listen to what some politicians are just saying, because they're saying some of the same things you're hearing from the Merz regime in Germany, even if they're not doing it like in the UK. But actually even look at some of what's being done, like with this interior minister in Germany. It is not dissimilar to what you're seeing from the Trump administration.
100%. Yeah, he's provided a wonderful example for Western Europe and other countries around the world that because people understand, this is a common sense issue. If you have an out of control border, if you have a chaotic immigration system that lets large numbers of people who are undervetted into the country, the consequences to the people who live there are going to be dire. We talked about, these truck drivers. We talk about these criminals, these gangsters, the fraudsters in places like Minneapolis. Western Europe is now learning this lesson. Maybe it's not too late, and they will benefit the quality of life in those countries by regulating immigration and allowing only those that are vetted and are a benefit to the society. Right? Immigration is supposed to, in America, is supposed to work for the people who live here. It's not supposed to benefit the rest of the world. It's supposed to benefit us here in the United States. And Western Europe now is coming to the understanding and has seen the real dangers of out-of-control migration. And so Germany, England, the UK writ large is taking steps with an example here in the United States.
He is Ronald Vitiello, Senior Advisor for DHS and CBP Office of the Commissioner, former Chief of U.S. Border Patrol and Deputy Commissioner, and retiring Acting Director of ICE, retired Acting Director of ICE, I should say. Ron Vitiello, thanks so much for joining us, as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
And Ron joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Honey, what's for dinner?
Honestly, nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Because every time I need a pan, I have to unload half the kitchen first.
It's like Jenga, but with casserole dishes.
Exactly. And I always lose.
At Forever Remodeling, we create kitchens that fit your life, not the other way around. From smart storage to stunning finishes, start cooking in a kitchen built just for you. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Text from 219. Before you sing the praises of Andy QB Diego Pavia, you need to do some research into his behavior at the Heisman ceremony festivities. I compared the stories. I heard about his behavior. I heard some of the things he said, and he apologized for them. They were inappropriate, but it's still a great story. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
This is a Fox News alert. A Hollywood legend is dead, and there's a murder investigation I'm Dave Anthony. Rob Reiner and his wife were found stabbed to death in their home in Los Angeles.
We expect and hope to hear a lot more information from the LAPD later this morning. As yet, they have not even confirmed the identities of the two people they found dead in the home owned by Rob Reiner here in the Brentwood area of Los Angeles. It was left to Reiner's family to confirm that those killed were indeed the legendary director and his wife, Michelle.
That's Fox's Jonathan Hunt. There are reports that Reiner's son, Nick, is a person of interest. Rob Reiner was 78, and while he's renowned for directing famous movies from Stand By Me to The Princess Bride and Harry Met Sally, he first became famous on TV in the 1970s.
Oh, wait a second, Osh. That's not fair. You're ahead way more than $10. Listen to the meat-headed college boy over there.
And Reiner won Emmys for that role as Meathead on All in the Family. They had the wrong guy. That's what police are saying in Providence, Rhode Island, releasing the person of interest they took into custody yesterday in Saturday's mass shooting that left 2 people dead, 9 injured.
They now warn the killer remains free, but despite a suspect being on the loose, law enforcement is not reinstating the shelter-in-place orders that had been in effect much of Sunday, as they don't feel there is an immediate danger to the public. The university is canceling all remaining classes and exams for the semester and is telling students they may leave campus for winter break.
Fox's Eben Brown. A memorial grows at Australia's Bondi Beach near Sydney, where 2 gunmen, a father and son, targeted Jews in a terror attack, shooting up a Hanukkah celebration, killing 15 people, wounding about 40 others.
In one vivid scene, a bystander can be seen crouched and then tackling one of the gunmen, wrestling him to the ground, taking the gun away, and then pointing him out to the police.
Fox's Greg Palcott. Police killed the older gunman. His son's in a coma in a hospital. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 7 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The city of Chicago is facing its first ever government shutdown as the city's budget impasse continues. Mayor Brandon Johnson's proposed budget includes a corporate head tax, which has been opposed by aldermen who are instead proposing an increase in service fees, which Johnson says he'll veto as those fees would be passed on to citizens. The city council will begin a series of meetings to try to come up with a budget before the December 31st deadline. Many of the alders met with Johnson's team on Saturday, but appear no closer to a compromise. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed Senate Bill 1950, which prompting strong backlash from medical, disability, religious, and legal groups who say it was rushed and violates key ethical and legal protections. Katrina Barker has the story.
State Representative Bill Howder, a practicing physician, said Pritzker showed signs of hesitation, but ultimately his leftist ideology took over and he signed it. According to Howder, members of the Legislative Black Caucus fear the law will create a 2-tiered health care system, especially harming those without financial means. I'm Katrina Barker.
And if you're not feeling well, you're not alone. Authorities say there is a very hard-to-kill stomach virus that's spreading through the Midwest. Officials with the Centers for Disease Control say norovirus cases have been skyrocketing since the Thanksgiving holiday. Officials say if you start to feel ill, do your best to stay hydrated, and if you can, stay home for at least 2 days after those symptoms ease. Now, the stomach virus comes on the heels of a new strain of flu called Subclade K, which has symptoms which include fever, cough, and sore throat. This report is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off any service, including inspections, or take advantage of limited time federal rebates on a new furnace. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
JP Morgan Chase is launching a blockchain money market fund for elite investors. The Wall Street Journal says the tokenized fund is being rolled out on the Ethereum blockchain. JP Morgan will seed the fund with $100 million of its own capital, then will open it to outside investors tomorrow. However, it will only be open to individuals with at least $5 million to invest or to institutions with a minimum of $25 million. There's a merger in the cannabis business. Canopy Growth is buying MTL Cannabis. Reuters says NVIDIA has told its clients in China that it is considering stepping up production of the H200 chip. The U.S. recently gave clearance for NVIDIA to export the chips to China. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Larry Elder wants facts in the argument.
It just drives me crazy whenever there is a mass shooting and the immediate call for people on the left to demand more gun control. Never, even on Fox, do you hear somebody say, well, let's also consider how often Americans use guns to save lives, themselves or others, or bodily injury. It just seems to me that should be relevant.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
So Pure Talk just had their best year ever and asked me if I'd like to thank their customers on their behalf for being so awesome. I said sure. It's important to say thanks, especially this time of year, which is why, as one of their many satisfied customers, I should probably thank Pure Talk first for keeping their customer service in this country and for providing hundreds of American jobs. I appreciate that. I also appreciate their Roundup program, which makes it easy to support America's Warrior Partnership and join the fight against veteran suicide. And I love that Pure Talk donated 1,000 hand-sewn Made in America flags to veterans around Independence Day. And of course, I really appreciate their generous support of my own foundation, MicroWorks, and their commitment to help us train the next generation of skilled workers. Having said all that, it's now my pleasure, on behalf of everyone at Pure Talk, to thank you sincerely for choosing to do business with an American wireless company that actually stands for something. And one more thing. Merry Christmas.
Are you prepared for the Illinois estate tax? If your estate is worth over $4 million, your heirs could face a tax bill of up to 16% when you pass. Financial advisor Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions can show you ways to potentially reduce or even eliminate that burden. One strategy is to start gifting assets during your lifetime to lower the taxable value of your estate. Another option is setting up irrevocable trusts, which can shield wealth from estate taxes. Charitable donations and life insurance policies can also be smart tools to offset tax liabilities. Call Scott Tucker and the Scott Tucker Solutions team now, 847-474-3888, or go to 560retirement.com. That's 847-474-3888, or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pegol, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Hitting those brakes on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive as you head towards Hollywood Avenue. Now, the Eden looks good inbound 16 minutes from Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 19. The Kennedy starting to get busy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 33 minutes. Outbound is 37. The express lanes inbound slow down into Ohio Street. You've got 44 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 38. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 27. Outbound is 21. The Dan Ryan inbound, that slows down from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 23 minutes. Outbound is 12. The express lanes also, they're jamming up as you approach the Stevenson. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Chicago Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a brisk breeze, but temperatures won't be as chilly, reaching a high of 25. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with cold conditions as the low drops to 17. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, but not as cold as today with the high of 37. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. The late British journalist and author, provocateur, Christopher Hitchens, who wrote extensively on politics and culture and literature, religion. In 2009, had this warning for his fellow Brits.
Thank you. This is very urgent business, ladies and gentlemen. I beseech you. Resist it while you still can, and before the right to complain is taken away from you, which will be the next thing. You will be told you can't complain because you're Islamophobic. The term is already being introduced into the culture as if it was an accusation of race hatred, for example, or bigotry, whereas it's only the objection to the preachings of a very extreme and absolutist religion. Watch out for these symptoms. They are not just symptoms of surrender, very often ecumenically offered to you by men of God in other robes, Christian and Jewish and smarmy ecumenical. These are the ones who will hold open the gates for the barbarians. The barbarians never take a city till someone holds the gates open for them. And it's your own preachers who will do it for you, and your own multicultural authorities who will do it for you. Resist it while you can. And if you wonder what will happen if you don't, look and see how a cricket team in Middlesex in England had to change its name by force last week because it was called, and had been for years, the Middlesex Crusaders. Look and see how stories about little pigs can't be taught to children in English schools anymore, lest offense be taken by the religion of peace. Resist it while you can.
Resist it while you can before the right to complain is taken away. Well, the only thing he was wrong about was he underestimated the scope, because the right to complain about open borders or radical Islam was taken away, along with a whole other host of topics where complaint or criticism is not tolerated. I mean, we've, of course, talked about this a bit, given, what is the number? Upwards of 12,000 British citizens who've been arrested for thought and speech crimes online, improper pronoun usage. A celebrated case recently of a former soccer player named Joey Barton who criticized sports broadcasters. I mean, he did so in a colorful, kind of over-the-top way, but criminal? He compared a couple of sportscasters in the UK to a couple of mass murderers in British, that part of British history. He compared one of them as well to Joseph Stalin, saying that she had murdered hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of football fans' ears. Obviously, sarcastic humor. But he was convicted because he superimposed the images of, I guess, the sportscasters' heads on the bodies of dictators. He convicted. This is what the judge in Britain said upon his conviction. This guy named Andrew Menery, who I understand previously let a pedophile who was found with baby rape videos walk free because he, quote, had good character. But Joey Barton, for ridiculing sportscasters?
Given the gravity, persistence and impact of this offending, I have no doubt that neither a fine alone nor a community order can be justified, and that the custody threshold is crossed. There will be concurrent terms of imprisonment for each of these associated offences, the sentences for each reflecting your overall offending and recognising the principle of totality. However, applying the imposition guideline and carrying out the required balancing exercise, I'm satisfied that it's not necessary for those custodial terms to be served immediately. In light of the steps you have taken, I am persuaded that there is some prospect of rehabilitation, that an immediate custodial sentence is not required to protect either the public or the victims, and that
you don't have to go to the clink quite yet, because you just need to, fly right and color inside the rhetorical lines. For more on the topic, please be joined by Theodore Dalrymple, contributing editor of City Journal, senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, and the author of many, many books, including Buried But Not Quite Dead, the Forgotten Writers of Père Lachaise. Theodore Dalrymple, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Well, I mean, the Christopher Hitchens commentary from some 16 years ago, and, not just its broader application to things not related to Islamist terrorism, but also including that, because frankly, we saw sort of what I think Christopher Hitchens was talking about in the immediate reaction from Australian authorities to the horrific terrorist attack that was committed by a father and son tandem over the weekend at Bondi Beach.
Yeah. Yeah. It leaves you almost speechless, really. Yeah.
Well, give us a sense of what you see or don't see happening in Western Europe and Western Civ, which you write about frequently, generally speaking, because on some fronts, we were just talking with the former head of ICE in this country. On some fronts, you see Germany and Poland, some countries taking material steps to reassert their sovereignty. In other places, France and Britain, maybe a little bit rhetorically so, but not substantively so. And it's against the backdrop of this other business, Macron, social justicing the Notre Dame Cathedral, and people continuing to get picked up by authorities in the UK for daring to cross ever-shifting rhetorical lines.
Yes. Well, one of the problems, of course, is that the politicians now calculate everything not by what is true or good for the country, but their electoral by their electoral prospect. So that in Britain, for example, we have enough constituencies where there are Muslim majorities that they could easily sway the entire election. And therefore people are unwilling, politicians are unwilling to be forthright about defense of our freedoms because they fear to offend an electorate which might actually have a decisive role in the next election. And in France, there was a very interesting opinion poll recently by a very respectable group of researchers who found that about 40% of young Muslims in France would say that they would prefer to live under Sharia than under the French Republican rule, and regard their religious duties to Islam higher than that to their country. So this is obviously a very dangerous situation. What's interesting also is that the numbers of people who feel like this increase generation after generation. So it's not something that actually the immigrants brought with them. It's something that has developed in the country itself.
So they're willful participants in their own civilizational demise. Is there nobody who recalls and can speak with moral clarity about, in France it would be, for example, the Charlie Hebdo massacre. In England it would be, for example, the 7/7 attacks in London, the bus attacks in 2005. Is there no one that is on the scene?
They can light candles and deposit teddy bears. And there are, of course, intellectuals and journalists who do speak out. There's no doubt about that. But it's the political class that is so pusillanimous. And as I said, it's largely for electoral reasons.
When a lot of the discussion in the wake of the Bondi Beach terrorist attack is, of course, the rise of anti-Semitism, which we've been talking about for the last couple of years after the attacks in Gaza in October of 2023, and I wonder what you think about the responsibility of Jewish citizens, whether in Australia, UK, America, being targeted, the experience that young Jewish kids and college campuses had in America and the West after the 10/7 attacks. What you think about the Jewish population's responsibility, moral imperative to provide leadership on this issue, even against, frankly, their political disposition, generally speaking, at least the majority of Jewish people?
I think that primarily their responsibility is that of citizens of their own countries, and by themselves there's not much that they can do if as a separate group. So I don't think they have any particular responsibility. The responsibility is with the national authorities, which have singularly failed in so many respects.
The BBC is talking about part of this relative ennui, I guess, when it comes to radical Islamist terrorism and other social pathologies. Part of the responsibility is with the legacy media. So there was a sacking, the BBC, if I could throw in a little bit of UK nomenclature there, by the top people after it was clear that they had manipulated what Trump said on January 6th. They've admitted additional errors where they manipulated what President Trump had to say about Liz Cheney. They reported what his comments on Liz Cheney, suggesting that he had suggested she be put before a firing squad, when that is not what he said at all. Does the BBC still have general legitimacy in the UK and in Western Europe, even after some high-profile incidents like these, where they have admitted that they were purposely acting as, anti-Trump operatives and not journalists?
Well, I mean, the prestige of the BBC has been declining for a very long time, and so it is viewed, certainly by a lot of people that I know, with absolute contempt. And not only because of the Trump business, but their general their general attitude, which they don't even know. They don't even know they have a general attitude, actually. I mean, they are so enclosed in their own little world that they can no longer see that their view is a particular view. As far as they're concerned, their view is the only possible view for any decent person. And this has long been the case. So that they live in a kind of organized mental world.
Since you're a retired prison psychiatrist, the psychology of the radicalized, do you have any sort of, since we're having this discussion anew, essentially, at least to some people it's anew, do you have any sort of general commentary on the mentality of the radicalized in the direction of violence?
Well, I think young and somewhat dissatisfied people often want a totalizing view of the world, a view of the world where a very simplified view where there is complete evil on one side and complete good on the other, and that the end justifies the means. I actually think that the part of the rise of Islam is the downfall of communism. If we had a more vigorous Marxist movement, we would have less Islamism. Marxism was a kind of secular Islamism, and now that it is declined declined in influence, except in New York, apparently. We have Islamism, which gives this complete answer, which is to hand in the Islamic population. It's very interesting that in France, when I went out to the banlieue in 2003, the older generation of Muslim immigrants actually didn't understand themselves what was happening to their own children. And they saw this radicalization and were mystified by it themselves. It wasn't what they themselves had wanted.
Do you see that extending beyond the radicalization, beyond one particular religious cohort? And generally speaking, on the left, I mean, we certainly, with survey data that keeps piling up with respect to young people and sort of the appetite for violence as the means to political ends.
Yes, I mean, I think the case of Mangione is a very important one, because there again you have the attitude that the end justifies the means. And if you're dissatisfied with something, and then, of course, there are always good reasons to be dissatisfied. I mean, there have been reasons to be dissatisfied, at least ever since I was born. And, but if you take the view that the end justifies the means, as increasingly people seem to do, then that is a progenitor of violence. So certainly, I think that there's a distinct possibility of more and more radical action.
Theodore Dalrymple, contributing editor of City Journal, senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, author of many, many books, including Buried But Not Quite Dead, Forgotten Writers of Père Lachaise. Theodore Dalrymple, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. And he joins us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain just doesn't hurt your body. It steals your life. I know, because I've seen it with people I care about, and maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get it. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering, just your body doing what it was designed to do, heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. Make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They've got weekend appointments, free consultations, and you can use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. Call 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. One more time, that number is 312-827-6261. 6261.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, he wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
That's cold!
Don't get stuck with a cold shower this fall. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Don't wait. The cold temperatures are coming, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this fall special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one, no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive fall special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
Bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. Bing bing, just hear those sleigh bells ringing, ting 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 ting. Come on,
Yeah, we got to get some Christmas music in here. Nothing better than the Sweeney Sisters from Saturday Night Live lore, huh? Coming up at 8:38, we'll talk to former FBI criminal profiler James Fitzgerald about both the mass shooting at Brown University as well as the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife. That's 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is just 90 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Chicago City Council will begin a series of meetings today in the hopes of coming to a resolution regarding the city's budget. With the December 31st deadline looming, Alderman and Mayor Brandon Johnson have been at an impasse regarding a budget for the city. Johnson has proposed a corporate head tax, which has been strongly opposed by aldermen who have proposed raising fees on services such as garbage collection, which the mayor opposes and says he'll veto. That budget must be passed by December 31st or the city will face a government shutdown. Smash and grab robbers have hit a business in the Logan Square neighborhood. According to reports, police were called to the scene of a shoe store just before 3 a.m. in the 3400 block of West Diversey Avenue. Police say the robbers crashed a white SUV into the store and took merchandise before they fled. There are no suspects in custody at this time. This news update is delivered to you by Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery. Local delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago on December 26th on their The Ghost of Christmas Eve 2025 tour. Enter to win tickets and the grand prize of a 75-inch TV, a home stereo system, and a $1,000 gift card. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/TSO.
The biggest time of the year for stores is during the Christmas season. And if you deal in collector coins, the main source for inventory is from people like you. We want to have our showcases fully stocked before Christmas. Last Christmas, gold was the highest ever recorded in its 5,000-year run. We don't always know if precious metals will go up or down. We're saying that if you don't appreciate that collection Grandpa left, you may want to at least find out what you can get for it. Fox Valley Coins is the trusted place where people come to buy and sell their precious metals, rare coins, and paper money. We're especially interested in purchasing now through the first week of December. And we'll still be buying after we get back from the Christmas break, but we need to purchase now. Fox Valley Coins is located one light north of I-88 on Route 59 on the Naperville-Warrenville border. We'll be closed Christmas Eve through Monday, January 4th, celebrating Jesus' birth with family and for year-end inventory. Merry Christmas from Fox Valley Coins. Family-owned integrity since 1981. FoxValleyCoins.com.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Are you ready for a new adventure? Alistair Begg invites you to join him on a remarkable cruise to a part of the world you've never seen before. The old world charm of the Netherlands and the majestic fjords of Norway, September 5th through the 12th, 2026. You'll begin with a relaxing day at sea aboard Holland America's majestic cruise ship, the Statendam. Breathe in the fresh ocean air, basking in the luxury of first-rate travel, complete with elegant cuisine. Treat yourself in the spa and settle into the beautiful ship you'll call home for a week. Experience an incredible journey, exploring quaint coastal villages filled with Viking history and glacier-fed valleys where worship rises like mist from the mountains as Alistair leads you through the scriptures. Cabins are limited, so call today 855-565-5519. That's 855-565-5519. Or log on to deeperfaithcruise.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Doing pretty good on the Eden inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound is 19. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 38 minutes. Outbound is 36. It's 46 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. Outbound 49 minutes. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 26 minutes. Outbound is 21. Sluggish but moving on the inbound Bishop Ford approaching the Dan Ryan. A little bit slow on the Dan Ryan Express as you head towards the Stevenson. On the inbound side of the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, that's 25 minutes. Outbound is 12. This report is a service of Blindster.com. Kyle started Blindster in 2010 to make quality, custom-made blinds affordable to everyone. Traditional window covering retailers are expensive. Blindster's prices are low, and their blinds are guaranteed to fit. Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect a mix of clouds and sun with a noticeable breeze, but temperatures won't be as chilly, reaching a high of 25. Tonight will be mainly clear with cold conditions as the low drops to 17. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy skies, but it will be milder than today with a high of 37. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and I want to talk to our next guest, James Fitzgerald, obviously about the Brown University mass shooting, but also the terrible news of the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife, stabbed to death, it's reported. And I don't know how much there is to say about this, though it did seem a little confused late last night when LAPD showed up at the scene, and where there were already reports by People magazine citing, basically unnamed but reliable sources, that Reiner's son, Nick, 32 years old, had murdered his mother and father. The LAPD wouldn't even characterize him as a person of interest late last night. I haven't seen anything change with respect to that. This is what we got from the deputy police chief, Alan Hamilton, last night on the matter. Do we have Alan Hamilton? Oh, here we go.
Told that a family, we're being told
hold on. One at a time, please.
Told that a family member is being interviewed in connection to these deaths. Can you confirm that? And is that family member being cooperative?
There are going to be many family members interviewed. I'm not going to confirm whether someone's being interviewed at this time or not. We're going to try and speak to every family member that we can to get to the facts of this investigation.
Chief, why are you not looking for a suspect?
I'm sorry.
Chief, why are you not exactly looking for a suspect? Are you confident you know who did this?
We have not identified a suspect at this time.
Well, then shouldn't you be looking for one so these neighbors aren't worried about their own lives and their own safety?
Yeah, so at this time, after we determine, I need everyone to understand something. In order to comply with the legal process, before we do anything here, we have to get a search warrant because there are issues regarding standing at this residence. So as long as those legal requirements are met, we can continue the investigation. Now, when I tell you that we have not identified a suspect, it doesn't mean that we're not working the case. We will not identify a suspect until that person is identified as a suspect, and we're legally seeking them if there is a crime to be reported and if that person is a suspect in that crime. Hold on. Did that answer your question, sir?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Has anyone been detained yet for questioning? Are you questioning people now that could be possible suspects and or a person or persons of interest?
Specifically to your first question, no one has been detained. Specifically to your second question, no one is being interviewed as a suspect.
Why would no one be interviewed? Wouldn't, if you had, if Nick lived in the home and you had, you have him, you found him, you know where he is, would he not be, just stay here, we need to talk to you before anything happens? I know they're waiting for a search warrant, and I understand there are complications unless there are exigent circumstances, giving chase and so forth with private residence if you want to do a comprehensive search of the property and gather evidence. So, okay, but it's just strange. And I wonder in high-profile cases like this, I was wondering if this is something where local law enforcement, even ostensibly sophisticated law enforcement department like LAPD, would enlist FBI for assistance, particularly if you have a flight risk or somebody who has given flight. And I don't know the whereabouts of the person that may not be a suspect in the minds of the LAPD, at least of late last night, but is being reported as the responsible party for the two murders. How else to say it? The other thing, too, it's interesting because I know there's a lot of emphasis on Nick Reiner's long history with drug addiction, periods of homelessness. But it is worth noting that Rob Reiner, Rob Reiner, forget his politics for a second. Celebrated, great director, somebody mentioned on text Spinal Tap, When Harry Met Sally, Few Good Men, Misery, Princess Bride. I mean, talented guy. And he was fun, the character he played on All in the Family, too, just opposite Carol O'Connor. I mean, it's a great show. His dad, Carl Reiner, like Mel Brooks, probably wouldn't have a career today, which is a sad commentary, but it's a commentary for another day. Rob Reiner and his son Nick collaborated on a movie a decade ago. Being Charlie was the name of the film. It wasn't very good, but nonetheless, it was loosely based on Nick's struggles with addiction. And, they did interviews together, and whatever the strains in their relationship were over the years, they seemed to have been in a good place a decade ago when they were doing publicity for the film.
Were you ever hesitant to show your father some of those things you had written? Because there's, as much as you're pulling from other people's experiences, you're pulling from your own as well. Was there ever a moment when you thought, this is too much, I don't want him to know all this?
Well, he knew a lot about what I'd went through already, so I wasn't any concerned at all about what was in there about me. But the father character initially was harsh on him, and I, believe it or not, was not wanting the character to be that villainous. And it was hard for him for a while to think that I thought of him that way, and to convince him that that's not how I felt, but that fathers do get in that mode sometimes when they're trying to help their kid who's in danger.
And it's interesting that he mentions that, because I did think that. I mean, a way the father originally was written as very black and white bad guy, and I thought, oh God, that's what Nick thinks of me, and oh my God, I thought that was, but then he actually came about halfway through the process. He said, the father should be it should be a little bit more dimensional. I mean, he's like too much of one thing. Mm-hmm. And oddly enough, I took that as to be, he's feeling better about me now. So he was able to say that. But the character evolved, and I do think that over the course of making the film, that our relationship definitely changed and it wasn't that was terrible or anything, but it got better because I then understood a lot more of what he had gone through, and I think he understood a little bit more what I had gone through, and then the script reflected that.
Well, who knows what transpired for the next decade or where the relationship was as of present, but just sort of interesting, that project that they collaborated on. James Fitzgerald is a retired FBI special agent and criminal profiler from the Unabomber case. Now the co-host of the Cold Red podcast that's on Spotify, Apple, all the podcast platforms. Jim, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. I wasn't sure what coast we were going to start on between the East Coast or the West Coast. We're going over to Australia for our topics today, but I'm open to discuss all of them or any of them and follow through on some of what you just said.
Well, does the FBI have a role in the Reiner double murder?
Not a direct one, no. It's a homicide, a state crime out of California. But they will certainly provide assistance if there's any interstate aspect to it, and certainly we just simply call it police officer cooperation or local police cooperation. And if they need, but LAPD is not going to need any computers or crime scene people to help out. So this will pretty much be an LAPD and maybe the sheriff's office. I'm not sure the exact jurisdiction there, but it's going to be them, probably the robbery homicide unit working this case. And if the FBI plays any role, it'll be tangential.
And tangential would be, like I said, would an example of that be if a suspect flees and you need help tracking him down, and LAPD needs help tracking him down?
Sure, or even interviews of people in other states. The LAPD detectives can fly there, but with agents right on the ground, everywhere in the country, within 50 miles, they would maybe do the first interviews in that regard. But ultimately, the prosecution would be out of LA County, and it would not be federal. At least, as far as I know, there's no federal nexus at this point, and I can't imagine how that would develop from what we know so far.
Let's move over to the mass shooting at Brown University that claimed the lives of 2 people, 9 others injured, 1 still in critical condition, we understand. Oscar Perez is the police chief of Providence, Rhode Island, and he explained how we went over the weekend from having a person of interest in custody to having a person of interest released. Take a listen.
The FBI director specifically said
said in his tweet that it was a tip from Providence Police that led you all to Hampton Inn. Can you confirm if that's true, and what exactly was the evidence that led you to this person of interest?
Yeah, so it was there was a tip that came in, just like we would take in any other tips, and that one came in specifically identifying a person of interest, which was this individual. And so our detectives got on it, just like they got on others, but in this specific one, it was actually picked up by the FBI, and they followed through with it, and they ended up coming and locating this individual of interest, and at that point, we did a thorough investigation, examined, ended up drafting some search warrants, came up with some evidence, but that evidence was examined, and we didn't have enough, obviously, to be able to prosecute anybody, and so that person was released.
It's interesting the way he said that. We had evidence, but we didn't have enough to hold him. Do you read that to mean that he still is a person of interest?
Yeah, I've heard some debates online last night. I watched both these press conferences in a row. It's almost like they were coordinated. One ended, the other one started shortly thereafter. Very odd pressers on both coasts. They detained a person, someone called in a tip, it sounds like, and of course they would have been remiss as investigators if they didn't try to search this guy out and figure out just who he is. Apparently it was the FBI, perhaps through phone data analysis of some sort, that they could triangulate where this guy was. Apparently they had a name and, look for the tag recognition, license plate recognition, all that type of stuff. Found him in a hotel and kept him in custody for 36 hours. In fact, I didn't say custody. They kept correcting themselves. The mayor, the chief of police, and the DA. He was detained. That is a legal term. It's not arrest. It's short of arrest. It's short of custody. They may have technically had to tell him, well, you can leave if you want, but it wouldn't really benefit you to do that right now. And we'll see how that all plays out. His name never went out to the public, as far as I know.
No, it did.
That works in the benefit. It did? The name's out there?
The name's out there, yeah. Mm-hmm. And where he lived in Wisconsin. From a suburb of Wisconsin, and there were a number of outlets that reported his name. Mm-hmm. And his military service and other aspects of his resume, if you will.
You're right, and I did read he traveled from Wisconsin, but at least as of last night, I didn't see a name. But whatever. Yeah. If the PD didn't put it out, that gives them some coverage in that regard, legally down the line. But if there's enough probable cause or even reasonable suspicion to detain someone for a violent felony, in this case, 2 homicides at least, let's hope no one else dies. The law does permit, the Constitution does permit keeping people detained for a limited period of time. And they just couldn't build a case against this guy. So I'm not on the inside, of course. No one, listening right now, as far as I know, is. So we'll have to see how it plays out, whether they're going to let him go, keep a surveillance on him, and just see where that whole case comes together at that point.
Are you surprised, given all the cameras, the campus police, the response to Providence PD, that this guy was able to slip away?
Yeah, I heard one of the reporters last night said you can't go anywhere without getting a traffic ticket, for running a yellow light, speeding, whatever. But here, there's no cameras in this, major Ivy League university, and that is very surprising to me. Nowadays, their tuition is so high. I'm sure their endowment approaches $1 billion, if not more, and they couldn't afford, I'll even say $100,000 to upgrade their security system. That's sad. I also wonder, 5 years ago, and maybe since then, defund the police off of campus. Did some of that play into account? How many officers are on the campus PD? How many on the Providence PD that could have responded when they did? And that's a whole other issue that should be addressed too. So it's not just cameras and surveillance type equipment, but also personnel allocation, and have they been cut short over the years? Have the guns been taken off of the campus police, has happened around many universities in the U.S., certainly after 2020, and sort of emasculate them and just make their job more difficult to do? These are all questions that will have to be answered at some point.
Yeah, there's some questions that they sort of diligently avoided answering, sort of like LAPD not answering who called 911, who found the bodies. And I'm talking about, with Reiner, of course. But now with respect to Brown, this is a different thing. A mass shooting like this, and particularly if the suspect if no suspect is brought into custody anytime soon, is this where somebody like a Jim Fitzgerald comes in to help do profiling on this, help pour through the evidence and start to put together a profile and a theory of the crime?
Yeah, I have a feeling our behavioral analysis unit is involved right now, probably on the scene. I remember going to Yale University in the early 2000s when a female student, she's a German national, finishing up her senior year, was murdered on the streets of New Haven in a nice area, and I was on the ground for that within a few days. So I'm sure behavioral folks are there. And the one thing I haven't heard mentioned about the Brown case is a concept very important to us behavioralists, us profilers, and that is victimology. And Dan, I want to make it clear to you and your audience, I'm not locking into this theory, but certainly something the police have to look at is, who was killed, who was shot. Did those people have any particular sort of history with anybody in the recent past? A boyfriend that broke up with them, a job, they fired someone, their parents did something. So we really have to learn everything. In fact, one of the names identified is Elsa Cook. I just read today she happens to be the vice president of the Brown University Republican Club.
Yeah, right.
And I'm sure that's not a very popular club, and of all places, Brown University. I don't want to bring politics into this. It's way too early. I think the other side would probably do that by now, but I'm not going to do it. And but that's something that has to be looked at. I'm not sure she was the first person shot or the second, and of course others were injured, some seriously. So I'd have to look at, just like with the D.C. sniper case. I remember telling people after the first 6 shootings in Montgomery County in the fall of 2001. I said, this could be they're targeting one person and they take out 5 or 6 others as collateral damage. It turns out I was in the right church, just the wrong pew. John Muhammad was trying to kill his ex-wife, and she was next on the victim list after he killed the bus driver up in Montgomery County, Maryland. So we have to look at whoever was shot here and go through all their personal backgrounds and see if there's anyone out there that would want to kill them and just kill a bunch of other people to sort of hide in plain sight and use that collateral damage to cover themselves. I hate that term, by the way. And I want to emphasize again, I'm not locked into this theory. People kill for power, control, for profit, greed, revenge, retaliation, ideology. Is this a former faculty member who was fired or who didn't get tenure? Is this a student who flunked out or was never admitted? So these factors have to be brought into and looked into and see what perhaps is the motivation behind this guy.
Well,
if we reach out and write a manifesto or put something on social media, we'll find out.
Yeah, and also, if he was targeting a particular student or students, a student group, a professor, like you say, but also even just perhaps taking it one step back and the building that he chose to go into on campus. Maybe there's something with respect to that department or a class, like you say, maybe he flunked physics or something like that. I don't know. Is that part of the calculus?
Oh, of course, victimology, usually it's individual people that we look at their complete background to find out why they were targeted, but it certainly can be an entity like the school itself. It could be the building itself. What happened in that building and what happened in the last 5 days, 5 weeks, or 5 years, maybe in that building or at Brown. Disgruntled employees, someone else arrested on campus, their kid arrested on campus. We had a Midwest bomber I worked back in the early 2000s. His sons were arrested in Utah and Illinois, and he put some pipe bombs out because his sons were arrested. The guy's still in jail and looking through some kind of an appeal. So people kill for all different kinds of reasons that make no sense to people like me and you and your audience. But they're grievance collectors. That's a term that psychologists and threat assessors have come up with. What grievance has this guy been living under for the last, again, 5 minutes, 5 weeks, or 5 years or longer? That somehow on Saturday afternoon, this person had to take out his frustration on these, I will say, innocent students, and they are all innocent, of course, but was one of them actually the target with the rest? And I hate the term collateral damage. The military uses it, but it's used in law enforcement too, to cover his tracks get away with it, and go from there? These are all questions that the investigators have to be considering, along with everything else we mentioned here, frustrated faculty member, student, something happened in that building, whatever.
James Fitzgerald, retired FBI special agent, criminal profiler from the Unabomber case, now co-host of the Cold Red podcast on Spotify, Apple, and all the platforms. Jim, thanks as always for your insights. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Dan. Take care.
Take care. And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line. And it is that time, 9 o'clock, AM 560, WIND, Chicago.
A mass shooter is still on the loose. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The one who opened fire at Brown University Saturday because it turns out they took the wrong guy into custody early yesterday. A person of interest let go late last night.